When I was a child, I often looked back on those early years with fondness, filled with love and laughter thanks to my wonderful parents. We didn't have much money or live in a luxurious place, but we had each other, and that was enough. My sister Rachel and I were inseparable, always embarking on little adventures. Our parents would laugh and say it was important for kids to explore the world. Everything changed when I turned 8. One rainy night, while my parents were driving home from work, a truck lost control on the slick road and crashed into their car, killing them instantly. Rachel and I didn't understand why they never came home. Our Aunt Melissa was the one who broke the news, saying, "Your parents had a terrible accident, Burrows. They're gone." Afterward, Melissa decided to take in Rachel, but said she could only manage one child. Rachel, who was quiet and loved reading, was easier for her to handle, while I, being lively and constantly on the move like our parents, was deemed too much. She told me, "I'm sorry, Sylvia, but you'll need to go somewhere else, somewhere better for energetic kids." I couldn't understand why I was being sent away when we were both her nieces. I was placed in an orphanage. The place felt cold and smelled of antiseptic, and I felt like I didn't belong. It seemed as though I was being abandoned, not even wanted by my own aunt. But then something good happened. The Smiths, friends of my parents, learned about my situation and came to take me in. They didn't see me as a troublesome child, but as a girl who had just lost everything. "Why would we not want you, Sylvia?" Mrs. Smith asked gently as they were signing the adoption papers. "You're going to be our daughter now, and we'll make sure you have everything you need." Moving to a new city with the Smiths felt like stepping into a different world. They loved me as their own, never making me feel like an outsider. They supported me through school, cheered for me at soccer games, and were there for every high and low as I adjusted to my new life. Even with their love, I often wondered about Rachel. How was she doing? Was Melissa kind to her? Did she miss me as much as I missed her? But life moved on, and I grew up in a home filled with love and acceptance, slowly healing from my past. That's how my journey started, in a loving home that chose me when my own family had turned me away. One morning, Mrs. Smith noticed I was quiet and asked, "Hey Sylvia, you seem awfully quiet today. What's on your mind?" "It's nothing really," I said, "just thinking a lot about the past lately." I hesitated, unsure how to bring up the box of old letters I had found in the attic. The letters weren't meant for me, but they had told me so much. "Whatever it is, you can tell us," Mr. Smith said, his expression warm and inviting. Taking a deep breath, I decided it was time to share. I found letters from Aunt Melissa to my parents. She talked about taking in Rachel, but not me, saying I was too much like my parents and too wild to fit into her perfect family. The room fell silent for a moment. Mrs. Smith reached over and squeezed my hand. "Oh, Sylvia, that must have been hard to read." "It was," I said, "but it explains a lot. It's why she never came to see me, not even once. I guess I just wasn't the right fit." Mr. Smith said firmly, "Remember, we chose you because you fit perfectly with us, not because you needed to fit a certain mold." I nodded, feeling the weight of years of confusion starting to lift. "I know, and I'm grateful every day, but it still hurts to be rejected for who I am." "We know, sweetheart," Mrs. Smith said with a warm smile. "But remember, you're not that little girl anymore. You're a strong young woman who has overcome so much." "You're right," I said. "I'm going to use this. I'm going to write my thesis on family dynamics and acceptance. Maybe I can help others understand and deal with similar situations." "That sounds like a wonderful idea," Mr. Smith said proudly. "We're so proud of you." The rest of my college years flew by as I focused on my studies and part-time work, driven by a desire to show that being too much can actually mean having a lot to offer. My thesis on family acceptance was well received, opening doors to graduate studies and a promising career in social work. Every success felt like a quiet reply to Aunt Melissa, proving that her rejection didn't define me but pushed me forward. My bond with my adoptive parents grew stronger, and I found comfort in knowing I was loved unconditionally as my career took off. I often thought about those difficult revelations and used them to fuel my passion for helping others. Every client I assisted and every family I saw reconcile felt like healing a small part of myself that had been hurt. Through it all, I kept moving forward, determined to live a life filled with love and acceptance, proving that sometimes being too much is just enough. One crisp afternoon, as I was settling into my office, my phone rang, breaking the quiet. It was an unfamiliar number. "Hello, Sylvia speaking." This is Nurse Thompson from Greenwood Care Facility, the voice said. I'm calling about Melissa, your aunt. She's been diagnosed with Alzheimer's, and her condition has worsened. Hearing Melissa's name after so long surprised me. I'm sorry to hear that, but there must be some mistake. Melissa and I haven't been in contact for years. I understand, Sylvia, Nurse Thompson said, but before her memory faded, she insisted we reach out to you if things got worse. Her family hasn't visited in months. I paused, letting her words sink in. I see. What exactly are you asking of me? Just a visit, Nurse Thompson replied. It might comfort her, even in her current state. I thought about it and felt an old wound reopening. Later, at home, I turned to Jared, my fiancé. We sat on the porch watching the sunset. Melissa's in a nursing home with Alzheimer's, I explained, unsure how to feel. They want me to visit her. Sylvia, you don't owe her anything, Jared said calmly. Remember, she made her choices. I know, but it's complicated, I replied. Part of me feels like I should do something. Whatever you decide, I'm with you. Just think about what's best for you, Jared encouraged. The next day, I talked to Mr. and Mrs. Smith. Sylvia, it's okay to protect yourself, Mrs. Smith said warmly. You have your own life and family now. Melissa made her choices. Mr. Smith added, it's not your responsibility to fix it. Their words made sense, but I needed more perspective. I called Rachel, hoping to understand her absence in Melissa's life. Sylvia, I stayed away on purpose, Rachel confessed. Living with her, even as the favored child, was suffocating. When I left, I decided it was for good. Did you know about her condition? I asked. I did, Rachel said. But I chose peace. It wasn't easy, but it was necessary for my sanity. Rachel's words hit hard. We had both found our escape from Melissa's controlling shadow. After reflecting on these conversations, I decided to call Nurse Thompson back. I've given it a lot of thought, I said. I'm sorry, but I can't visit Melissa. It's a part of my past that I can't revisit. Please understand. I understand, Sylvia. Thank you for considering it. We'll respect your decision, Nurse Thompson said before hanging up. A mix of relief and sadness washed over me. Jared held me close, his support unwavering. You made the right choice for you, Sylvia, he assured me. Leaning into his embrace, I felt the strength of his support. Choosing to move forward on my own terms was one of the hardest but most freeing decisions I had ever made. A few days later, I met Rachel at a cozy little cafe. I was nervous but excited. It had been years since we had sat down together, just the two of us, trying to reconnect after so much time apart. As we sipped our coffee, Rachel broke the silence. I've missed this, Sylvia. I've missed you. I've missed you too, I replied. Her words made the familiar pain of our separation ease a bit. I'm sorry we let so much time pass. We were both dealing with a lot, Rachel said with a tentative but genuine smile. But I'm glad we're here now. We started talking about our aunt, and I hesitated before speaking. I heard about Melissa's condition. It must have been tough hearing about it after all these years. Rachel's expression clouded for a moment. Yeah, it brought up a lot of old feelings. But I realized that staying away was necessary for my own healing. She wanted to shape me into something I wasn't, and when I couldn't fit into that mold, it hurt a lot. I nodded, understanding her more than ever. She had been rejected in one way, and I had been rejected in another, just for being too much like Mom and Dad, too energetic, too lively. It's ironic, Rachel mused. Rachel and I talked more about our past. She pushed us away, trying to mold us, and now she's the one left alone. I said, I've decided not to visit her. It's hard, but it's what I need to do to protect my peace. I hope that's okay. Rachel reached across the table and squeezed my hand. It's more than okay, Sylvia. I support your decision. We both need to do what's best for us, not just what's expected. We spent the rest of our time together reminiscing about our childhood, the good and the bad, talking openly about our hurt and healing and the lives we reclaimed from Melissa's control. Felt therapeutic. We have each other, Rachel said as we got ready to leave. That's what matters. Let's not let anyone come between us again. I smiled, feeling a deep sense of relief and reconnection. Agreed. It's us against the world, right? Right, Rachel echoed with a laugh. As we hugged goodbye, I felt lighter than I had in years. The renewed bond with my sister gave me strength. Driving home, I reflected on our journey, the pain Melissa caused, our personal growth, and our choice to keep our distance. It wasn't about holding grudges, but about choosing our well-being and focusing on a future that was ours, not dictated by the shadows of the past. That night, as I shared everything with Jared, his unwavering support and understanding highlighted the incredible strength I had gained, not just from my chosen family, but also from reconnecting with Rachel. Together, we were moving forward, healing from our scars, and building lives filled with love and purpose. The morning Melissa passed away, a chill settled in the air, not from the weather, but from the finality of the news. Rachel called me early. Her voice was steady but carried a hint of old grief. "It's over, Sylvia. Melissa is gone." As I processed Rachel's words, a mix of relief and sorrow tangled inside me. "Are you okay?" I asked, understanding the complexity of her feelings. "I think so. It's strange, isn't it, to feel relief that it's finally over," Rachel replied. "It is, but it's also okay," I said, feeling the truth of my words deeply. "We've been carrying this burden for too long." We decided to attend the funeral together, not for Melissa, but for ourselves, to close the chapter on our painful past. At the cemetery, the small gathering was a stark reminder of the solitary life Melissa had led in her final years. There were no warm eulogies, only the cold facts of her life and passing. As the pastor finished his prayers, Rachel squeezed my hand. It was a silent pact between us. We were here to say goodbye not just to Melissa, but to the shadow she had cast over our lives. Walking away from the cemetery, I felt like a chapter was finally closing, one that had lingered open for too long. In the weeks that followed, life moved swiftly towards a much happier occasion, my wedding. On the day of the ceremony, in the bridal suite, I was surrounded by the laughter and bustle of my bridesmaids. Rachel was there, radiant and supportive. No longer just my sister, but my best friend. "You look beautiful, Sylvia," she whispered, adjusting my veil. "Thanks to you. I couldn't have gotten here without your support," I replied. Our eyes met in the mirror, reflecting our shared history. The ceremony was everything I had dreamed of and more. Jared stood at the altar, his eyes filled with emotion as I walked toward him. The church was full of our friends and family, every face a reminder of the love and support that had guided me here. As Jared and I exchanged vows, promising to build a future together based on love and respect, I felt the weight of the past truly lift. We were moving forward, doing so on our terms, our lives defined not by past shadows, but by the light of what could be. The reception was a blur of music, dancing, and laughter. Mr. and Mrs. Smith danced every dance, their faces glowing with joy. Rachel gave a toast that brought everyone to tears, not just for its words of love, but for the journey it recounted, a journey of healing and rediscovery. As the night drew to a close, Jared and I stepped outside for a quiet moment. The stars sparkled above us, a tapestry of light against the dark sky. "We did it," I said, resting my head against Jared's shoulder. "We did," he agreed, kissing the top of my head. "Here's to new beginnings, to love, and to a future we create together." As we stood there, the night seemed to whisper around us, promising years of happiness built on the courage to make choices and the strength to let go of the past. The air was no longer heavy with loss but light with the promise of the life we were ready to live. Now that our story has reached its end, I have a question for all of you. Sylvia and Rachel chose to attend Melissa's funeral, not out of obligation, but to find closure on their own terms. Do you think attending the funeral of someone who hurt you was necessary for healing, or is it better to find peace from a distance? Share your thoughts and experiences in the comments below. Your insights can enrich our discussions and provide support to others facing similar dilemmas. If you found this story moving or thought-provoking, please like this video and subscribe to our channel for more content like this. We value each like, comment, and subscription as it helps our community grow and allows us to bring you more stories that matter. Thank you for watching. I look forward to reading your responses.
The letter sat on my kitchen counter like a ticking bomb. 5 years of carefully reconstructed peace, threatened by a single cream envelope with Rachel's unmistakable handwriting. My hands trembled as I reached for it, memories flooding back of that day in the hospital when I lost everything. I'm Naomi, and until that day, I thought I had it all. A loving husband, a best friend who was more like a sister, and a baby girl growing inside me. Now all I have is a nursing degree and a collection of what-ifs. "You should burn it," my brother Adrian said, reaching for his coffee. He'd stopped by for our weekly breakfast, a tradition that helped keep me sane after everything fell apart. I probably should. I turned the envelope over in my hands. But you know me. Yeah, I do, which is exactly why you should burn it. He leaned forward, his expression serious. You've worked too hard to let them back in. The memory of that day still burns fresh. I was 7 months pregnant when severe complications sent me to the emergency room. While I fought for my baby's life, my husband John was nowhere to be found. Hours later, as I lay devastated by the loss, a nurse accidentally let slip that my emergency contact, my best friend Rachel, had been admitted to the same hospital for a panic attack. She was in the room right next to mine. They were together, weren't they? I'd asked the nurse, already knowing the answer. Her pitying look said everything. Naomi? Adrian's voice pulled me back to the present. You're doing it again. Sorry. I picked up my toast, now cold. I want to know what she could possibly have to say after all this time. Nothing worth hearing, I bet. I ripped open the envelope, ignoring Adrian's sigh. The letter inside was short, but every word felt like a punch to the gut. Dear Naomi, I know we have no right to ask anything of you, but John and I need your help. We've been trying to have a baby for 3 years with no success. The doctors say I can't carry to term. You're our last hope. Please, just meet with us. We can explain everything. Rachel. You've got to be kidding me. Adrian grabbed the letter, reading it himself. The nerve of these people. I stood up, pacing my small kitchen. They want me to be their surrogate? After everything? Tell me you're not actually considering this. I stopped at my window, staring at the hospital where I now worked as a labor and delivery nurse. Every day I helped bring new life into the world, while my own chance at motherhood had been stolen from me. Of course not, I said, but something stirred inside me, an idea, dark and tempting. My phone buzzed, a text from my colleague Sadie. Emergency at work, can you cover for me? I have to go, I told Adrian, grateful for the escape. Early shift. He stood, gathering his things. Promise me you'll throw that letter away. Promise, I lied, tucking it into my scrub pocket. At work, between checking on patients, I couldn't stop thinking about Rachel's request. 5 years ago, I'd been too broken to fight back. I'd signed the divorce papers in a daze, moved across town, and threw myself into nursing school. I'd done everything right, rebuilt my life, found purpose in my work, even started dating again. But the wound never really healed. You look like you've seen a ghost, Sadie said during our break. Everything okay? I pulled out the letter, watching her eyes widen as she read it. Holy shit, she whispered. What are you going to do? I took the letter back, smoothing its creases. I think I'm going to help them. What? Are you insane? Maybe I was. But for the first time in 5 years, I felt truly alive. They want a baby so badly? Fine, I'll give them exactly what they want. Naomi, Sadie's voice held a warning. Don't worry, I said, pulling out my phone to compose a reply. I know exactly what I'm doing. My fingers moved swiftly across the screen. Dear Rachel, I'm surprised to hear from you. You're right, we should meet. There's a lot to discuss. How's tomorrow at 2? The response came almost immediately. Thank you, Naomi. You don't know what this means to us. I smiled, tucking my phone away. They had no idea what they were walking into. 5 years ago, they'd destroyed my life when I was at my most vulnerable. Now they were the vulnerable ones, desperate for my help. The perfect chance to make them understand exactly what they'd done to me. I don't like that look in your eyes, Sadie said softly. Don't worry, I repeated, standing up as my break ended. Everything's going to be just fine. But as I walked back to my patients, my hand drifted to my flat stomach, remembering the daughter I'd lost. Tomorrow, I'd face the 2 people who had betrayed me at my lowest point, and this time, I'd be the one in control. The coffee shop felt too small as I watched them walk in. John still had that confident stride, though his hair had started graying at the temples. Rachel looked thinner than I remembered, her designer clothes hanging loose on her frame. They spotted me in the corner booth, and I could see Rachel's steps falter. Naomi, John said, his voice softer than I expected. Thank you for meeting us. I gestured to the seats across from me, keeping my face neutral. Please, sit. They settled in awkwardly, Rachel's hands fidgeting with her purse strap. The silence stretched until our server arrived to take their orders. Just water, Rachel said quickly. John ordered black coffee. So, I said once we were alone again, you want me to carry your baby. Rachel flinched at my directness. We've tried everything, she whispered. Multiple IVF cycles, different specialists. My body just... it keeps rejecting. We understand this is a huge ask, John cut in, reaching for Rachel's trembling hand. The gesture made my stomach turn, especially given our history. I took a slow sip of my tea. Our history. That's an interesting way to put it. Naomi, please, Rachel's eyes filled with tears. I know we can never make up for what we did, but we've changed. We've grown. Have you? I leaned forward. Because from where I'm sitting, you're still the same selfish people who left me alone in that hospital room while my daughter died. John's face paled. We never meant... Never meant what? To fall in love while I was carrying your child? To start your affair behind my back? To abandon me when I needed you most? It wasn't like that, Rachel protested weakly. Then tell me what it was like. Help me understand why my husband and best friend thought it was okay to destroy me. The server returned with their drinks, creating another uncomfortable pause. I watched them squirm, savoring their discomfort. We were wrong, John said finally. Terribly, unforgivably wrong. If we could go back. But you can't, I interrupted. And now you want my help. The irony is almost poetic. Rachel wiped her eyes. We've been to every fertility clinic in the state. None of the other surrogates worked out. You're our last hope, Naomi. Please. I sat back, studying them. Rachel looked desperate, haunted. John couldn't meet my eyes. Perfect. I'll do it, I said. They both stared at me, shocked. What? Rachel breathed. I'll be your surrogate, under certain conditions. Anything, John said quickly. First, we do this through proper legal channels. My lawyer draws up the contract, not yours. They nodded eagerly. Second, I want full transparency about everything. Medical records, genetic testing, all of it. No secrets. Of course, Rachel agreed. And third, I paused, making sure I had their complete attention. You both agree to weekly counseling sessions, together and separately. John frowned. Counseling? You want me to carry your child. I need to know you're both mentally prepared for parenthood, that you've dealt with your issues. Rachel grabbed John's arm before he could protest. We'll do it, whatever you want. I pulled out my lawyer's card, sliding it across the table. Call Tobias. He'll handle the paperwork. Once everything's signed, we can start the medical procedures. They stood, Rachel looking like she might hug me. I stepped back quickly. This is just business, I said coldly. Don't mistake it for forgiveness. After they left, I remained in the booth, my hands shaking as I pulled out my phone to text Adrian. They agreed. Everything's set. His response was immediate. You're playing with fire, sis. Maybe I was. But watching their desperate faces, seeing how badly they wanted this baby, I knew I'd made the right choice. They'd taken everything from me 5 years ago. Now it was my turn to show them exactly how that felt. Back at work that evening, Sadie cornered me in the break room. Well, she demanded, how did it go? They agreed to everything, even the counseling. She shook her head. I still think you're crazy. What happens when they figure out what you're really doing? I smiled, thinking of Rachel's tears, John's guilt-ridden face. They won't. They're too desperate for this baby to question anything. And what about you? Sadie asked softly. Are you ready to carry another child? To go through all that again? The question hit harder than I expected. I turned away, organizing supplies to hide my expression. I'm not doing this to have a baby, I said firmly. I'm doing this to make them understand what they did to me. And then what? I closed the supply cabinet with more force than necessary. and then I'll finally be able to move on. But as I headed home that night, past the nursery wing where newborns cried and parents celebrated, I wondered if I was lying to myself. Was this really about revenge? Or was I chasing something else? Something I'd lost 5 years ago in a hospital room, alone and betrayed. Tomorrow I'd meet with Tobias to start the legal process. There would be no turning back after that. No room for doubt or second thoughts. They wanted my help? Fine. They'd get exactly what they deserved. The fertility clinic's waiting room was eerily quiet as I sat between John and Rachel, waiting for our first appointment. 2 months of legal paperwork and preliminary tests had led to this moment. Rachel's leg bounced nervously, while John stared at his phone, his jaw tense. "Mrs. Clark?" the nurse called, and Rachel jumped. "That's still weird to hear," I muttered, loud enough for them both to catch it. Rachel's face flushed red. The nurse led us to Dr. Patterson's office, her walls covered with photos of smiling babies. Rachel gravitated toward them immediately, touching one frame with trembling fingers. "Good morning," Dr. Patterson breezed in, her smile professional. "I've reviewed all your files. Shall we discuss the procedure?" As she explained the IVF process, I watched John and Rachel from the corner of my eye. They weren't sitting as close as they had been at the coffee shop. Rachel kept reaching for John's hand, but he remained stiff, distant. "Any questions?" Dr. Patterson asked. "I have one," I said. "I'd like to see Rachel's complete medical history." Rachel's head snapped up. "You already have my records." "The basics, yes, but I want everything. Every test, every failed attempt, every diagnosis." "That's not," John started, but Rachel cut him off. "It's fine. I'll have everything sent over." Dr. Patterson cleared her throat. "Well, if we're all comfortable proceeding, we can schedule the first hormone treatment for next week." In the parking lot afterward, Rachel caught my arm. "Naomi, wait. Can we talk?" John was already in their car, engine running. "What is it?" She hugged herself, looking small. "Thank you for doing this. I know you must hate us." "Hate requires emotional investment," I said coldly. "I feel nothing for either of you." Her face crumpled, but she pressed on. "John's been different lately. Distant. I think he feels guilty about everything." "Good. Please don't make this harder than it needs to be." I laughed, the sound harsh even to my ears. "Harder? Like watching my husband comfort my best friend while my baby died wasn't hard enough? That's not fair." "No, what's not fair is you two showing up after 5 years, asking me to give you the one thing you took from me." John honked the horn, making us both jump. Rachel wiped her eyes and hurried to the car. I watched them drive away, noting how they sat as far apart as the seats allowed. Back at work, I slipped into the records room during my break. Rachel's medical files had arrived, and I began scanning through them, looking for anything unusual. "What are you doing?" Sadie's voice made me jump. "Research," I said, not looking up. She peered over my shoulder. "Those are private records. I'm their surrogate. I have a right to know." "Know what exactly?" She pulled up a chair. "That they're having marriage troubles? Because that's pretty obvious from what you've told me." I flipped through another page, then stopped. "Wait. Look at this." The report detailed Rachel's third failed pregnancy, but something in the genetic testing caught my eye. "This can't be right," I muttered, reading it again. "What?" According to this, Rachel has a genetic condition that makes pregnancy dangerous for both her and the baby. But they never mentioned this. Sadie frowned. "Maybe they don't know?" "No, look at the date. This was from last year. They know, and they're hiding it from me." "But why would they?" "Because it might affect my decision," I said, anger building. "They're still lying, still keeping secrets." I pulled out my phone, typing furiously, "Emergency meeting. Tomorrow morning, your house. No excuses." Rachel's response came quickly. "Is everything okay? We'll discuss it tomorrow." That night, I couldn't sleep. I kept thinking about Rachel's face in the parking lot, about John's distance. Something wasn't adding up. Adrian called around midnight. "You're still awake, aren't you?" "How did you know?" "Because I know you. What's going on?" I told him about the medical records, about John and Rachel's strange behavior. Maybe you should back out, he suggested. This seems messier than we thought. No, I said firmly. This is exactly what I needed. Proof that they haven't changed. They're still the same selfish, lying people they were 5 years ago. And you're sure this is about them? Not about you trying to replace what you lost? I hung up on him. The next morning, as I drove to their house, my mind raced with possibilities. Why hide the genetic condition? What else were they keeping from me? The perfect revenge I'd planned was becoming complicated, layers of secrets threatening to suffocate us all. Their house looked exactly like the kind of place I'd once dreamed of living in, perfectly manicured lawn, white picket fence, window boxes full of flowers. But as I parked in their driveway, I could hear shouting from inside. "You never wanted this!" Rachel's voice, shrill and breaking. "You're only doing this because you feel guilty." "That's not true," John shouted back. I smiled grimly as I walked to their door. Time to add some fuel to this fire. The shouting stopped the moment I rang the doorbell. Rachel opened it, her eyes red and puffy, trying to force a smile that didn't reach her eyes. "Naomi, come in. Would you like some tea?" Their living room was a shrine to forced perfection. Matching furniture, artfully arranged throw pillows, family photos where they both smiled too widely. John stood by the window, his back to us. "No tea," I said, pulling the medical report from my bag. "Let's talk about this instead." Rachel's face went pale as she recognized the document. "Where did you get that?" "You agreed to full transparency, remember?" I placed it on their coffee table. "Want to explain why you hid this?" John turned around finally. "Hid what?" "She doesn't know," Rachel whispered, and suddenly everything clicked into place. I looked between them. "You never told him about the genetic condition?" The silence that followed was deafening. John crossed the room in 3 quick strides, snatching up the report. "What genetic condition?" His voice was dangerously quiet as he read. "Rachel, what is this?" Rachel sank onto the couch, her perfect facade crumbling. "I was going to tell you." "When?" John exploded. "After we got Naomi pregnant with a baby that could inherit this? Were you ever going to tell me the real reason you can't carry to term?" "I was scared," Rachel sobbed. "You've been so distant, so reluctant about this whole thing. I thought if you knew—" "If I knew what?" "That you've been lying to me? That you're willing to risk someone else's health to get what you want?" I watched them unravel, feeling a twisted satisfaction. But something else crept in, too. An unexpected pang of empathy as Rachel curled into herself, looking smaller by the second. "Stop," I said, surprising myself. "Both of you, just stop." They turned to me as if suddenly remembering I was there. "Rachel, what you did was wrong. Hiding this information put me at risk." I took a deep breath. "But I think I understand why you did it." "You do?" Rachel looked up, hope flickering across her tear-stained face. "You're terrified of losing him," I said softly. "Just like I was." John made a choked sound and sat heavily in an armchair. "The counseling sessions," I continued. "Have you been going?" Rachel nodded. "Separately. John wouldn't do the couples sessions." "Because this isn't what I want," John burst out. "Any of it. I'm only doing this because I owe you, Rachel, because I destroyed my marriage, hurt Naomi, all for you. And now I find out you've been lying too?" The room fell silent, except for Rachel's quiet sobs. I stood there, my carefully crafted revenge plan crumbling around me. These weren't the same people who had betrayed me 5 years ago. They were broken, struggling, drowning in guilt and unspoken truths. "I think," I said slowly, "we all need to take a step back." "What do you mean?" Rachel asked. "I mean we pause the surrogacy process. You two need to figure out if this is really what you both want, and you need to do it honestly this time." John looked at me with something like gratitude. "Naomi, I'm so sorry. For everything." "Don't," I held up my hand. "I'm not doing this for you. I'm doing it because I won't be part of creating a child that's born into lies." I've seen what that does to people. My phone buzzed. A text from Sadie. Everything okay? Need backup? I typed back quickly. No, things just got complicated. What happens now? Rachel asked, her voice small. Now you tell me the whole truth. About the condition, about your marriage, about everything. And then we decide if moving forward makes any sense. As I drove home later that day, my hands shook on the steering wheel. I called Adrian. They're falling apart, I said when he answered. And I think I'm glad. Isn't that what you wanted? Yes. No. I don't know anymore. I pulled into my driveway. I wanted to hurt them like they hurt me, but watching them today, they're already hurting themselves worse than I ever could. Maybe that's your real revenge, Adrian suggested, making them face the truth they've been running from. I sat in my car, watching the sunset paint my small house in shades of orange and pink. 5 years ago, I'd lost everything in a single day. Now I was watching John and Rachel lose each other in slow motion, and it didn't feel as satisfying as I'd imagined. My phone lit up with a text from Rachel. Thank you for today, for making us talk. Can we meet tomorrow? Just us? I stared at the message for a long time before responding. Okay, but this time, no more lies. The revenge I'd planned was slipping away, transforming into something else. Something that felt surprisingly like healing. Rachel chose a small diner on the outskirts of town for our meeting. When I arrived, she was already there, stirring her coffee absently, her wedding ring conspicuously absent. John moved out last night, she said as I slid into the booth. He's staying at a hotel. I'm sorry, I said, and meant it. No, you're not, she smiled sadly. But thank you for saying it anyway. The waitress came by, and I ordered coffee. Neither of us touched the menus. I found this while he was packing. Rachel pulled an envelope from her purse. It's addressed to you. He wrote it 3 years ago but never sent it. My hands trembled as I took it. Why are you giving this to me? Because I'm tired of secrets. Read it. I opened the envelope carefully, unfolding the letter inside. Dear Naomi, it's our daughter's would-be birthday. I drove past the hospital today, thinking about how different everything should have been. Rachel's asleep upstairs, but I can't stop thinking about you, about the baby, about all the ways I failed as a husband and a father before I even had the chance to be either. The truth is, I never deserved you. You were kind and genuine, while I was a coward who took the easy way out. Rachel and we didn't plan for any of this to happen, but that's no excuse. We should have been honest. You deserved that much. I watch Rachel struggle with guilt every day, and I know we're being punished for what we did to you. Maybe that's fair. Maybe we deserve this pain. I'm sorry. I know it means nothing now, but I am so deeply sorry. John. I folded the letter carefully, my vision blurring. He writes one every year, Rachel said quietly. On her birthday, I found them all last night. Why are you telling me this? Because you need to know that we never forgot. We never moved on. What we did to you, it broke something in both of us. The waitress returned with my coffee. I wrapped my hands around the warm mug, trying to steady myself. The genetic condition, I said finally. Tell me about it. Rachel's hands twisted in her lap. It's called Turner syndrome. It means any daughter I have would likely have severe health issues. That's why I keep miscarrying. My body, it knows. And you were willing to risk passing that on? I was desperate, she whispered. John's been pulling away for months. I thought if I could just give him a child. But it wouldn't fix anything. No, she agreed. It would just bring another innocent person into our mess. I took a sip of coffee, thinking about the letter in my purse. Why did you really choose me as your surrogate? Rachel looked out the window, tears sliding down her cheeks. Because I thought if you helped us create something beautiful, maybe it would make up for what we destroyed. Stupid, right? Yes, I said. But I understand desperate decisions. I was about to make one myself. She turned back to me. What do you mean? When you first asked me to be your surrogate, I agreed because I wanted revenge. I wanted to make you feel the loss I felt. Oh, Rachel's voice was small. And now? Now I realize we're all still stuck in that hospital room 5 years ago. You, me, John. We never really left. How do we leave? By telling the truth, all of it. I leaned forward. What really happened that day, Rachel? Why were you in the hospital? She paled. Naomi, please. I need to know. No more hiding. Rachel's hands shook as she picked up her coffee cup. I was pregnant too. Early stages. When I found out, I panicked. I took something to end it. But there were complications. That's why I was in the hospital. The truth hit me like a physical blow. You were pregnant with John's baby while I was carrying his child? She nodded, tears flowing freely now. I've never told anyone, not even John. The guilt, it's eating me alive. I sat back, feeling oddly hollow. All these years I'd imagined their betrayal as something passionate, romantic, but this was messier, uglier, more human. Does John know about any of this? No, Rachel whispered, and I can't tell him. It would destroy him completely. My phone buzzed. A text from John. Can we talk, please? I showed Rachel the message. Looks like he wants his own private conversation. Are you going to tell him what I just told you? I stood up, leaving money for the coffee. No, that's your truth to tell. But Rachel, you should. Secrets have a way of destroying everything they touch. As I walked to my car, I felt lighter somehow. The revenge I'd planned seemed petty now, compared to the weight of the truths we were all carrying. I texted John back. Tomorrow, your hotel. We have a lot to talk about. The game had changed. This wasn't about revenge anymore. It was about finally leaving that hospital room behind. The hotel lobby was quiet when I arrived. John sat in a corner armchair, looking like he hadn't slept in days. His usual polished appearance was gone, replaced by wrinkled clothes and stubble. Thanks for coming, he said, standing. There's a coffee shop next door. We walked in silence, found a quiet table away from other customers. John ordered an espresso. I stuck with water. I guess Rachel gave you my letter, he said after our drinks arrived. One of them. She said there are others. He rubbed his face. One for every birthday our daughter should have had. Pathetic, right? No, I said softly. Not pathetic. I've been seeing my therapist daily since I moved out. He stared into his cup. She says I never properly grieved. For our daughter, for our marriage, for any of it. And Rachel? Rachel, he sighed heavily. I think I married her out of guilt. Like if I could make her happy, it would somehow make up for what we did to you. A barista dropped something in the kitchen, the crash making us both jump. Did it work? I asked. Nothing works. We're both just pretending, playing house while drowning in secrets. I pulled out my phone, scrolling to a photo I'd taken of Rachel's medical records. Speaking of secrets, I found something else you should see. He took the phone, frowning as he read. These dates. This was before we even approached you about surrogacy. Keep reading. His face went pale. The genetic testing, the risk factors. She knew about all of this? She knew the risks, not just to her, but to any baby she might have. And she still wanted... He set the phone down carefully, his hands shaking. She was willing to risk a child's health just to keep me? People do desperate things when they're scared of losing everything. Like having an affair with their best friend's husband? His voice was bitter. Like agreeing to be a surrogate to get revenge, I countered. He looked up sharply. What? That's why I said yes, John. I wanted to make you both suffer, to give you hope, and then take it away. Oh. He was quiet for a moment. I guess we all have our secrets. The difference is, I'm telling you mine. A group of teenagers entered the coffee shop, their laughter jarring against our heavy conversation. There's something else, I said. Something Rachel told me yesterday. Don't. He held up his hand. If Rachel has more secrets, she needs to tell me herself. Even if keeping quiet means you might make decisions based on incomplete information? He laughed hollowly. My whole life is based on incomplete information. At least now I know that. What are you going to do? I filed for divorce this morning. The words hung between us like smoke. Part of me, the part that had plotted revenge, should have felt triumphant. Instead, I felt oddly empty. Are you sure that's what you want? Want? He shook his head. What I want is to go back 5 years and make different choices. What I want is to be worthy of the family I could have had with you. What I want is impossible. John, no, let me finish. I've been a coward for too long. He met my eyes directly. I loved you, Naomi, really loved you, and I threw it away because I was scared of how much I loved you, of failing you, of not being enough. Rachel was safe, familiar, an escape. And now? Now I know there's no escape. We all have to face what we've done eventually. My phone buzzed, a text from Rachel. Is he okay? I showed it to John. Tell her I'm fine, he said. Tell her I'm ready to hear whatever she needs to say. As I typed the response, John pulled out his wallet and laid some cash on the table. Thank you, he said, standing, for showing me those records, for being honest about your intentions, for everything. Where are you going? To talk to my wife, or soon-to-be ex-wife, whatever she is. He paused. You know, I thought having a baby would fix everything, but we can't create new life when we're still living in death. I watched him leave, thinking about the daughter we lost, about Rachel's secret pregnancy, about all the babies that would never be. My phone buzzed again, Sadie this time. How's Operation Revenge going? I typed back. It's not. Everything's changed. Changed how? I stared at her message, thinking about John's letters, Rachel's tears, the weight of secrets finally spoken aloud. I'll tell you tomorrow, I replied. Right now, I need to make a call. I scrolled to Tobias's number, my finger hovering over it. One call, and I could officially end the surrogacy agreement. End this chapter of all our lives. But first, Rachel and John needed to have one final conversation. One last truth to set us all free. The call came at 3 a.m. Rachel's voice was barely a whisper. Can you come over, please? I found them in their living room, sitting on opposite ends of the couch. The space between them might as well have been an ocean. Empty wine glasses sat on the coffee table alongside crumpled tissues and what looked like divorce papers. I told him, Rachel said as I entered. Everything. John's face was ashen, his hands gripping his knees. I needed you both here for this, to put everything on the table. I sat in the armchair, completing our triangle of broken people. Okay, I'm here. Start from the beginning, John said to Rachel. Tell Naomi what you told me. Rachel's hands trembled as she spoke. The affair? It started 3 months before your pregnancy, Naomi. I was John's shoulder to cry on when he panicked about becoming a father. One thing led to another, and you got pregnant, I finished. John made a sound like he'd been punched. When I found out about the baby, our baby, I was terrified. But I was going to tell you, Naomi. I swear I was. But then I took care of it, Rachel's voice was hollow. Without telling John, without telling anyone. And it went wrong. That's why I was in the hospital that day. While our daughter was dying, I said quietly, Yes. Tears streamed down Rachel's face. I've hated myself every day since then. When the doctors told me about the genetic condition later, about how I might never have a healthy baby, it felt like punishment. So you thought using me as a surrogate would fix everything? The bitterness crept back into my voice. I thought, Rachel looked at John, I thought if we could create something pure, something good. But we can't, John interrupted, because nothing built on lies can ever be pure. Silence filled the room. Outside, a car alarm went off briefly, before falling quiet. I wanted to hurt you both, I said finally. When you asked me to be your surrogate, I saw my chance for revenge. I was going to wait until you were invested, hopeful, and then take it all away. What changed? Rachel asked. I saw myself in you. The desperation, the pain, the secrets. We're all just broken people trying to fix things in the wrong ways. John stood suddenly, pacing the room. Do you know what I remember most about that day in the hospital? Not finding out about the affair, not even— His voice cracked. Not even losing our daughter. I remember the silence. How quiet everything was when it all fell apart. I remember the beeping, I said, the monitors, the doctors talking in hushed voices. I remember praying, Rachel whispered, bargaining with God. Take my baby instead of Naomi's, I said. Make me pay the price, not her. But that's not how it works, I said. We all paid the price. We're still paying it. John stopped pacing. So what do we do now? I pulled out my phone, showing them Tobias's number. First, we end this surrogacy agreement. It was wrong from the start. All of our reasons were wrong. Rachel nodded slowly. And then? Then you two figure out if your marriage can survive this much honesty, or if it should. And you? John asked. What will you do? I thought about the nursery at work, about the babies I help deliver every day. I'll keep living, keep healing. Maybe someday I'll have another chance at motherhood. But it will be on my terms, with someone who deserves my trust. I'm so sorry, Rachel sobbed. We've all been so sorry for so long. I know, I said, standing. That's why I'm going to do something I never thought I could. They both looked at me, waiting. I forgive you. The words hung in the air like a release, like the first breath after being underwater too long. Not for you, I continued. For me. Because carrying this anger, this need for revenge, it's exhausting, and I'm ready to be free. John wiped his eyes. Thank you. Don't thank me. Just do better. Be better. Whether that's together or apart. I called Tobias on my way out, leaving them to figure out their next steps. His voicemail picked up. Tobias, it's Naomi. The surrogacy agreement. Cancel everything. I'll come by tomorrow to sign whatever I need to sign. As I drove home in the pre-dawn darkness, my phone lit up with texts from both of them. Rachel, thank you for making us face the truth. John, you deserved better. We all did. I didn't respond to either message. Some chapters need to end in silence, in the quiet acknowledgement that sometimes healing comes not from revenge, but from finally letting go. At home, I opened my window to watch the sunrise, thinking about all the babies I'd help bring into the world tomorrow. Each one a new beginning, a chance for something pure and true. And for the first time in 5 years, that thought didn't hurt. The autumn breeze carried the scent of fallen leaves as I walked through the hospital garden. This had become my favorite lunch spot, a quiet place to decompress between deliveries. Today, though, I wasn't alone. I thought I might find you here, Sadie said, sitting beside me on the bench. Rough morning? Beautiful morning, actually. Twins. Both healthy, both perfect. She smiled, handing me a coffee. You seem different lately. Lighter. I am. I watched a pair of birds chase each other through the trees. Did I tell you Rachel called yesterday? No. What did she want? To let me know she's moving to Seattle. Fresh start, she said. The divorce was finalized last week. How do you feel about that? I considered the question, sipping my coffee. Honestly, I hope she finds what she's looking for. That's surprisingly generous of you. Maybe. Or maybe I'm just tired of carrying around other people's guilt alongside my own. A young couple walked past us, the woman heavily pregnant, the man supporting her with gentle care. Once, that sight would have sent me spiraling. Now it just felt like watching life continue its natural course. Speaking of guilt, Sadie said, John dropped this off at the nurse's station for you. She handed me a small package wrapped in brown paper. Inside was a silver frame holding a sonogram image, my daughter from all those years ago. I found this while cleaning out the house, John's note read. She deserved to be remembered, and you deserve to have this piece of her. Oh, Sadie breathed, reading over my shoulder. Are you okay? Yeah, I traced the tiny profile in the image. I really am. My phone buzzed, a message from Adrian. Dinner tonight? Big news to share. Go, Sadie said, seeing my hesitation. I'll cover your afternoon shift. You sure? Positive. Besides, you've earned some happiness of your own. At the small Italian restaurant Adrian loved, I found him practically bouncing with excitement. "What's the big news?" I asked, sliding into the booth. "Remember that promotion I mentioned, the one in Chicago?" "You got it?" He nodded, grinning. "And I want you to come with me." "What?" "Hear me out. The hospital there is twice the size of this one, with a state-of-the-art maternity ward. They're always looking for experienced nurses. Adrian, you need this, sis. A fresh start. Somewhere without ghosts around every corner." I opened my mouth to refuse automatically, but stopped. What was really keeping me here? "I'll think about it," I said instead. "That's all I'm asking." Later that night, I sat in my garden looking at the stars. The frame from John sat in my lap, my daughter's image silvery in the moonlight. My phone lit up with a text from Rachel. "Found this while packing. Thought you should have it." The attached photo showed 3 young women laughing at a beach. Rachel, me, and our friend Kate from college. We looked so carefree, so unaware of how life would change us all. "Remember who we were," Rachel's next message read. "But more importantly, remember who we can still become." I looked at the sonogram again, thinking about Chicago, about fresh starts and new beginnings. "I'm sorry I tried to use your memory for revenge," I whispered to the image. "You deserved better than that. We all did." My phone buzzed one more time, an email from the hospital administrator. "Naomi, heard you might be considering a move. Before you decide, I'd like to discuss promoting you to head nurse of labor and delivery. You've earned it. Let's talk tomorrow." I smiled, thinking about how life had a way of opening doors just when you thought all paths were closed. Inside, I placed the frame on my mantel, next to the photo of my nursing school graduation. Not hidden away like a painful secret, but displayed as part of my story. A chapter that helped shape me, but no longer defined me. I typed 3 messages. To Adrian, "Let's talk more about Chicago tomorrow." To Rachel, "Safe travels. I hope you find your peace." To John, "Thank you for the frame. She'll always be part of both of us." Then I walked through my house, really seeing it for the first time in years. Not as a refuge from pain, but as a space full of possibilities. Whether I stayed or left, chose Chicago or the promotion, the decision would be about moving forward, not running away. My revenge plan had failed spectacularly. Instead of destroying John and Rachel, it had forced us all to face our truths, to finally begin healing. Sometimes the best revenge isn't about making others suffer, it's about refusing to let past suffering determine your future. I opened my window to let in the night air, feeling truly free for the first time since that day in the hospital. Tomorrow would bring new babies, new chances, new choices, and I was finally ready for all of it. The crystal champagne flute shattered in my grip, sending shards and expensive bubbles across the mahogany dining table. The room fell silent, except for my mother's sharp intake of breath. I didn't care. After what my sister Stella had just said, breaking things seemed like the reasonable response. I'm Carmen, and this was the moment I decided to burn my family's perfect facade to the ground. "Really, Carmen?" Stella dabbed her napkin at the splash of champagne on her designer blouse. "Having another tantrum because you can't handle criticism? This is exactly why your business failed." "My business didn't fail," I shot back, my voice steady despite the rage building inside me. "We had a setback. It happens to every entrepreneur." "Sweetheart," my mother Francesca interrupted, her perfectly manicured hands smoothing the tablecloth. "Perhaps it's time to consider a more conventional career path. Your sister Tamara could help you secure a position at her firm." Tamara's lips curled into that familiar smirk. "Entry level, of course, though even that might be a stretch given your limited experience." "Limited experience?" I laughed, but there was no humor in it. "I built that company from nothing. We had over 50,000 customers before you lost everyone's money," my brother Jason chimed in, not bothering to look up from his phone. "Face it, sis. You're not cut out for the big leagues." I glanced at my father, Lincoln, hoping for support, but he just sipped his wine, eyes fixed on his plate. Typical. He'd perfected the art of avoiding conflict years ago. You know what? I stood up, my chair scraping against the hardwood floor. I don't need this. Any of it. I don't need your fake concern or your condescending advice. Carmen, sit down, my mother hissed. The staff will talk. Let them talk. God forbid anyone discovers the Ortiz family isn't perfect. I grabbed my purse from the back of my chair. I'm done pretending we're one big happy family. Drama queen, Stella muttered. I spun toward her. At least I earned my success instead of riding Daddy's coattails into law school. Stella's face reddened. How dare you? How dare I what? Tell the truth? I looked around the table, meeting each of their eyes. That's what none of you can handle, isn't it? The truth? From the corner of my eye, I caught movement. My niece Willow had slipped into the doorway, her phone held low but definitely recording. Smart girl. She gave me the smallest of nods. The truth, Tamara scoffed, is that you're jealous. You've always been jealous of our success. Success? I laughed again, harder this time. You mean the trust funds, the connections, the carefully curated marriages and careers? That's not success. That's inheritance. Carmen, my mother stood now too, her voice shrill. You will not speak to your sisters this way. Watch me. I stepped away from the table. You all sit here in your bubble, judging everyone else, thinking you're untouchable. But you're not. You're just better at hiding your mistakes than most people. Jason finally looked up from his phone. Is that a threat? No, dear brother, that's a promise. I turned to leave, then paused. Oh, and Stella, maybe next time you want to criticize someone's business acumen, make sure they don't know about your creative billing practices first. The color drained from Stella's face. Perfect. Carmen, wait, my father finally spoke, but I was already walking away. Don't bother calling, I called over my shoulder. I'll be too busy picking up the pieces of my failed business to answer. I made it to my car before the tears came. My hands shook as I gripped the steering wheel, but I forced myself to breathe. They'd always been like this, dismissive, cruel, wrapped up in their own importance. But something was different now. Maybe it was the champagne, or maybe it was just years of pent-up resentment, but I'd finally had enough. My phone buzzed with a text from Willow. Got it all on video. Also, I have an idea. Coffee tomorrow? I smiled through my tears. My teenage niece, the only one in this family worth saving. She'd always been different, smarter, kinder, more genuine than the rest of them. Another text came through, this time from my mother. Your behavior tonight was unacceptable. Call me when you're ready to apologize. I deleted the message without responding. Then I blocked her number, and Stella's, and Tamara's, and Jason's. As I drove away from the mansion that had never felt like home, my mind was already racing with possibilities. They thought I was finished, that I'd crawl back begging for forgiveness and a job at one of their precious firms. They had no idea what I was capable of, no idea what secrets I'd kept over the years, what stories I could tell. My business might have hit a rough patch, but I still had my skills from my investigative journalism days, and now I had nothing left to lose. My phone buzzed again. Willow. Trust me, you're gonna want to hear this idea. I smiled. Maybe it was time to put those skills to use. After all, every good story needs an audience, and I had one hell of a story to tell. A podcast? I stared at Willow across the coffee shop table. That's your big idea? Not just any podcast. My niece's fingers flew across her laptop keyboard. True crime is oversaturated. Family drama? That's the sweet spot right now, especially when it involves rich people behaving badly. I stirred my now cold coffee. And you think people want to hear about our family? Are you kidding? Willow's eyes lit up. Mom's creative accounting, Uncle Jason's business trips to Vegas, the stuff about Grandpa's company that nobody talks about. It's gold, Aunt Carmen. Pure gold. I don't know. But I did know. The idea had been forming since last night, taking shape with every angry text I'd received from my siblings. Look. Willow turned her laptop around. I already mocked up some artwork. Family secrets, the truth behind the perfect facade. What do you think? The design was sleek, professional, black and gold with a shattered family portrait as the centerpiece. My throat tightened. When did you get so good at this? While everyone else was busy criticizing you, I was actually learning from you. She reached across the table, squeezing my hand. You taught me that success isn't about who your parents are. It's about what you create. Your mother would kill me if she knew you were helping with this. Mom's too busy cooking books to notice what I'm doing. Willow's voice hardened. Besides, I'm tired of pretending everything's fine, aren't you? Before I could answer, my phone buzzed. Another message from my father. Your mother's upset, call her. I showed it to Willow, who rolled her eyes. Classic grandpa, never addressing the actual problem. You know what? I straightened in my chair. Let's do it. The podcast. All of it. Really? Willow's face lit up. Really? But we do this right. Professional equipment, proper research, ironclad legal protection. I pulled out my notebook. Old habits die hard. I still have contacts from my journalism days, people who owe me favors. I can handle the technical side, Willow said, already typing. Sound editing, website, social media presence. I've been studying this stuff for months. Months? How long have you been planning this? She shrugged. Since I overheard Mom and Aunt Stella talking about how they got rid of their competition in the Martinez case. You know, the one where that family lost everything? My pen froze mid-sentence. What are you talking about? Oh, you didn't know? Willow's voice dropped. They fabricated evidence, got the whole family's assets frozen. The youngest daughter, she swallowed hard. She couldn't afford her medical treatments anymore. The coffee in my stomach turned to acid. That girl died? Willow nodded. Last spring. Mom and Aunt Stella celebrated with champagne. Called it a necessary casualty of business. My hands were shaking again, but not from anger this time, from purpose. Tell me everything. For the next hour, Willow laid it all out. The corruption, the cover-ups, the casual cruelty that my family had turned into an art form. With each revelation, my resolve strengthened. We'll need to be careful, I said finally. They'll try to shut us down. Already thought of that. Willow pulled up another document. Anonymous hosting, encrypted communications, offshore servers. They can try to trace it, but they won't get far. When did you get so devious? She grinned. I learned from the best. Our family's great at being devious. We're just going to use it for good instead of evil. My phone buzzed again. Tamara this time. Somehow texting despite being blocked. Mom's having anxiety attacks because of you. Hope you're happy with yourself. I showed Willow the message, her jaw set. They always do this. Make you feel guilty for their actions. Not anymore. No, I agreed. Not anymore. I pulled out my credit card. First things first, we need equipment. Then we need a secure place to record. My friend's dad has a music studio. He owes me for fixing his website. We can use it after hours. I raised an eyebrow. Does he know what we're planning to use it for? He knows it's a podcast about family dynamics. He doesn't need to know whose family. She closed her laptop. When do we start? I checked my watch. The equipment store closes in 2 hours. We can have our first test recording done by tonight. Perfect! Willow stood, gathering her things. Oh, and one more thing. I may have already started a social media campaign. Just subtle hints about a big exposé coming soon. We've got 5,000 followers already. I laughed despite myself. You really have been planning this. Someone had to. Her expression turned serious. They hurt people, Aunt Carmen. Real people. It's time someone held them accountable. As we walked to my car, I felt lighter than I had in years. This wasn't just about revenge anymore. It was about justice, about truth, about showing my family that their actions had consequences. You know there's no going back once we do this, I said, as we pulled out of the parking lot. Willow plugged her phone into the car's speakers, pulling up a playlist titled Podcast Themes. Good, she said. Going back is overrated anyway. The first track started playing, a haunting piano piece that built slowly into something powerful, something unstoppable, just like us. 3, 2, 1. Willow gave me the signal from behind the soundboard. I leaned into the microphone, my heart pounding. Welcome to Family Secrets, where the perfect facade crumbles one truth at a time. I'm your host, and today we're diving into a story about power, privilege, and what happens when justice is for sale. My hands trembled as I shuffled my notes, but my voice remained steady. Years of investigative reporting had taught me how to mask nervousness with authority. Let me tell you about a lawyer named Stella. Harvard-educated, respected partner at a prestigious firm, known for never losing a case. But what if I told you her perfect record wasn't built on skill, but on something far darker? I detailed the Martinez case, careful to change just enough details to avoid legal issues while keeping the devastating truth intact. As I spoke, the subscriber count on our live feed kept climbing. 1,000 listeners, Willow mouthed silently, giving me a thumbs up. But here's where it gets interesting, I continued. When the Martinez family's assets were frozen, something unusual happened in Stella's offshore account. A transfer of exactly $2 million from an anonymous source. The same day, key evidence in the case mysteriously disappeared from the court records. My phone started buzzing. Stella. I ignored it. 2,000 listeners, Willow whispered. The youngest daughter needed experimental treatment for a rare form of cancer, treatment that could have saved her life, treatment they could no longer afford after Stella's legal maneuvering left them penniless. More calls. Tamara now, Jason, my mother. 5,000 listeners. I pressed on, my voice growing stronger with each revelation. But Stella didn't act alone. Her partner in this tragedy was another powerful woman. Let's call her T. Together, they orchestrated one of the most devastating legal frauds this city has ever seen, and they celebrated their victory with champagne while a young girl died fighting for her life. The studio door burst open. Stella stood there, face contorted with rage, designer heels clicking on the floor as she stormed toward me. "Stop recording right now!" she demanded. I smiled into the microphone. "And speaking of Stella, it seems she's decided to join us live. Care to comment on the Martinez case, sister?" "You have no proof of any of this," she snarled, reaching for the microphone. Willow's hand shot out, blocking her aunt's grasp. "Touch the equipment and I'll add destruction of property to the live stream." 10,000 listeners, I said calmly. "That's quite an audience for your debut, Stella. Want to tell them about the offshore account? Or should I share the documentation I have right here?" Stella's face went from red to white. "You're lying. You can't have those records." I pulled out a folder, spreading photographs across the desk. Banking statements, court documents, emails. Amazing what people keep in their cloud storage when they think nobody's looking. 20,000 listeners! Willow's voice was excited now. Stella grabbed my arm. "You're destroying this family!" I yanked free. "No, you destroyed this family when you decided money was worth more than human life." "You don't understand," she hissed. "That case was everything. If you hadn't won, a young girl might still be alive." I turned back to the microphone. "Ladies and gentlemen, it seems my sister has some explaining to do. Stella, the audience is waiting. Care to tell them why $2 million was worth more than a child's life?" She backed away, fumbling for her phone. "Our lawyers will shut you down. You'll never work in this city again." 30,000 listeners, Willow announced, and the recording's already been downloaded thousands of times. "It's too late, Mom." Stella spun toward her daughter. You? You helped her do this?" "Someone had to tell the truth," Willow said quietly. My phone buzzed again, a text from an unknown number. "I worked on the Martinez case. There's more, much more. Check your email." "Well, folks," I said into the microphone, "it seems we've struck a nerve, and this is just the beginning. Next week, we'll dive deeper into the web of corruption that connects some of our city's most prestigious law firms and financial institutions. The truth is coming out, one episode at a time." Stella stormed out, slamming the door behind her. Through the studio window, I could see her crying in her car, phone pressed to her ear. 40,000 listeners, Willow said as I wrapped up the episode. And trending on Twitter. Family Secrets is blowing up. My hands were shaking as I removed my headphones. "You okay? That was your mom we just exposed." Willow's eyes were hard. That woman stopped being my mom the day she toasted to winning the Martinez case. I heard her, Aunt Carmen. She laughed about it. My phone kept buzzing with notifications, social media exploding, news outlets requesting interviews, more anonymous sources coming forward. We should probably get out of here, I said, gathering my evidence files. They'll be coming for us now. Willow was already packing up the equipment. Let them come. We have the truth on our side. As we left the studio, my phone lit up with one final message from Tamara. You think you know everything? Wait until you hear what I know about our dear brother Jason. Call me. I showed the message to Willow, who grinned. Looks like we've got our next episode. The truth was snowballing now, and there was no stopping it. Not anymore. You're meeting Tamara? Willow nearly dropped her laptop. It's obviously a trap. I checked my reflection in the cafe window. Of course it's a trap, but she's desperate enough to give us something real. The coffee shop was crowded, perfect for a confrontation. I'd chosen it specifically because Tamara wouldn't dare make a scene in front of so many smartphones. 100,000 subscribers now, Willow said, setting up her hidden recording equipment. The Martinez story is everywhere. 3 news stations called this morning. I spotted Tamara entering, her designer suit a stark contrast to my casual attire. Her eyes darted around nervously before she slid into the seat across from me. You look terrible, I said cheerfully. Our father's in the hospital. She didn't waste time with pleasantries. Stress-induced heart problems. I hope you're happy. Nice try. I called the hospital. He's getting his annual physical. Tamara's facade cracked slightly. You always were thorough. Speaking of thorough, I pulled out my phone. Let's talk about what you know about Jason. Not here. She glanced around. This isn't a game, Carmen. What you're doing, it's dangerous. More dangerous than letting a girl die for profit? That was different. Stella went too far. And you didn't? I leaned forward. The offshore accounts, the insider trading, the creative bookkeeping that made millions disappear? Her face paled. How did you? I have sources everywhere now. Amazing how many people want to talk when they see someone finally standing up to the mighty Tamara. She grabbed my wrist. Listen to me, Jason. He's involved with people. Bad people. The kind who don't care about podcasts or public opinion. They solve problems permanently. I pulled free. Are you threatening me? I'm warning you. Her voice dropped. Last month, a journalist started asking questions about Jason's Vegas connections. 2 days later, his brake lines mysteriously failed. My coffee turned sour in my stomach, but I kept my voice steady. Prove it. Tamara pulled out a USB drive. Everything's here. Bank records, photos, names. But if you use this, I was never involved. Why are you giving me this? Because. She stood up, straightening her jacket. Unlike Stella, I know when I'm beaten. And because... She hesitated. Because maybe that Martinez girl deserves some justice. After she left, Willow emerged from her corner table. Got everything recorded, including her confession about the journalist. I turned the USB drive over in my hands. We need to be careful with this one. Back everything up. Multiple locations. Already on it? Willow was typing furiously. But you should see what's trending now. Someone leaked photos of Stella, shredding documents at her office last night. My phone buzzed with a news alert. The headline made my heart stop. Prominent law firm under investigation following podcast allegations. It's working, Willow whispered. They're actually looking into it. Another message popped up, this one from Jason. You have no idea what you're getting into. Back off now, or else. Or else what? I muttered. Aunt Carmen? Willow's voice was small. Maybe we should be careful. What Tamara said about that journalist. No. I stood up, gathering my things. That's what they want. For us to be scared. To back down. But we're not stopping until the truth is out. We spent the next 3 hours in a private room at the library, going through the USB contents. What we found made the Martinez case look like a parking ticket. Money laundering, Willow read. Connections to organized crime, blackmail, Uncle Jason's been busy. Look at these dates. I pointed to a series of transactions. Each one corresponds to a major family event. The Christmas party where he announced his new business venture. The charity gala where he donated $500,000. All dirty money, Willow finished. But how do we prove it without putting ourselves in danger? I smiled. By letting someone else do it for us. Opening my email, I started composing a message to every financial crimes investigator I knew from my reporting days. Anonymous tip with evidence attached. They'll have to investigate. And the podcast? We tell just enough to make people ask questions. The right questions. I checked my watch. We record tonight. This episode goes live tomorrow morning. Willow's phone chimed. Grandma's calling a family emergency meeting. Tomorrow night at the house. Perfect timing. I gathered the printouts. Let them hear the episode first. Let them sweat. What if Uncle Jason really does try something? I pulled up the photo of the Martinez girl. Young, smiling, full of life before my family destroyed her. Then we make sure everyone knows exactly who's responsible if anything happens to us. As we left the library, a black SUV with tinted windows pulled up alongside us. The window rolled down just enough to show Jason's face. "Last chance, sis," he called out. "Some stories should stay buried." I held up my phone, recording. Thanks for that, Jason. It'll make a great opening for tomorrow's episode. The SUV peeled away, leaving rubber on the pavement. He's scared, Willow observed. Good. I checked my phone. 200,000 subscribers now. He should be. The truth was like an avalanche now, growing bigger and more unstoppable with each revelation. And my family was directly in its path. The family mansion looked different now, smaller somehow. Police cars lined the circular driveway, their lights reflecting off the marble fountain. Holy shit, Willow whispered beside me. They actually did it. They arrested Uncle Jason. We watched from my parked car as 2 officers led my brother out in handcuffs. His perfect hair was disheveled, his expensive suit wrinkled. He caught sight of us and mouthed something that looked distinctly like a threat. 500,000 downloads of today's episode, Willow said, checking her phone. The FBI's financial crimes tip line crashed from too many calls. My mother burst out of the front door, mascara streaking her face. "This is your fault," she screamed, pointing at my car. "You've destroyed this family." I stepped out, facing her. "No, Mother, the family destroyed itself. I just exposed the rot." "They're taking everything," she sobbed. "The accounts, the properties, all of it. We'll be ruined." Like the Martinez family was ruined, I moved closer. Like all the other families you and your precious children destroyed? A detective approached us, notepad in hand. "Ms. Carmen, we'd like to ask you a few questions about your brother's activities." "Of course, Detective. But first..." I pulled out my phone, showing him a series of emails. "You might want to look into my father's company, specifically the overseas subsidiaries." My mother's face went chalk white. "You wouldn't dare. Watch me." I turned to the detective. "I have evidence of systematic tax fraud going back 20 years. Would you like to see it?" "Carmen, please." My mother grabbed my arm. "Your father. It would kill him." Like it killed Mr. Martinez when he lost everything? When he had to watch his daughter die because he couldn't afford her treatment? More police cars arrived. I could see my father through the study window, frantically shredding documents. "Too late," I told him, though he couldn't hear me. "Willow already hacked your cloud storage. They have everything." Stella's car screeched into the driveway, nearly hitting a police cruiser. She jumped out, waving a court order. "This is harassment. We're filing an injunction to stop this podcast immediately." "Already denied," Willow called out, waving her phone. "Check your email. The judge ruled it's protected speech, since everything we said is demonstrably true." "You little..." Stella started toward her daughter, but 2 officers stepped between them. "Miss Stella?" One officer held up a warrant. "We need to discuss the Martinez case, specifically, the missing evidence and suspicious financial transactions." My sister's legal mask slipped into place. "I want my lawyer present for any questions." "Your lawyer's already been arrested," the officer replied. "He was very cooperative." I watched as my family's carefully constructed world crumbled around them. Tamara arrived next, already in tears, clutching designer bags stuffed with what looked like documents. "I'll tell you everything," she announced to the nearest detective. "About Jason, about the money, about all of it. I want immunity." "Traitor!" Stella screamed at her. "Smart," I corrected. "She's the only one who might stay out of jail." My father finally emerged from the house, looking older than I'd ever seen him. "Carmen," he said quietly. "A moment?" I followed him to the garden, our old special place, where he used to read to me as a child, before money and power corrupted everything. "I never wanted this," he said, sitting heavily on a stone bench. "The company. It started with small compromises, then bigger ones, until one day you were celebrating the death of an innocent girl with champagne?" He flinched. "I tried to protect you from all this. That's why I encouraged you to start your own business, to stay away from the family companies. You weren't protecting me, I realized. You were protecting yourself, keeping me clean in case everything fell apart." "Carmen!" My mother's shrill voice cut through the garden. "They're seizing the house. Do something." I stood up. "I already did something, Mother. I told the truth." Willow appeared at my side, tablet in hand. "Trending nationwide now. Every major news network is covering it. And..." She paused for effect. "3 publishing houses want to talk about a book deal." My father put his head in his hands. Behind him, I could see Stella being led to a police car, still arguing about her rights. Tamara was sitting in the back of an SUV, talking rapidly to federal agents. Jason had already been taken away. "What happens now?" Willow asked quietly. I watched as officers strung crime scene tape across the front of my childhood home. Now we keep telling the truth about everyone who helped cover this up, every corrupt judge, every bought politician, every complicit accountant. "They'll fight back," my father warned. "People with real power, dangerous people. Let them." I took Willow's hand. "The truth is bulletproof." My mother's wails echoed across the property as agents began carrying out boxes of documents. The fountain's water still sparkled in the evening light, but now it seemed to be washing away years of secrets and lies. My phone buzzed, a message from Mrs. Martinez. "Thank you for giving my daughter justice, and that made everything worth it. You need to see this." Willow burst into my apartment, laptop clutched to her chest. Her face was pale, hands shaking. "What's wrong?" I set down my coffee, still groggy from another late night of recording. She opened her laptop, pulling up a series of encrypted emails. "Someone sent these to our tip line. They're from Grandpa's private server." I scanned the first few messages, my blood running cold. "These dates? They're from 30 years ago." "Keep reading." The emails detailed a conspiracy so vast it made our previous revelations look like child's play. My father, the respected businessman, had built his empire on the backs of desperate families. Predatory loans, forged documents, manufactured bankruptcies, all designed to strip people of their homes and businesses during the economic crash of the early 90s. "There's more," Willow whispered, scrolling down. "Look at the names." I recognized one immediately, Maria Santos, my childhood best friend. Her family had lost everything when I was 12. They'd disappeared overnight, and my parents had told me they moved away for better opportunities. "They didn't move," I breathed. "They were driven out." My phone rang, my father's number. After 3 weeks of silence, now he calls. "Hello, Father. Where are you?" His voice was urgent, strained. "We need to talk. In person. Now." "Why? More families you've destroyed coming to light?" "Carmen, please." He actually sounded scared. "There are things you don't understand, things I've done to protect you." "Protect me?" I laughed bitterly. "Like you protected Maria's family?" The line went silent for a moment. "How do you know about Maria?" "I know everything, Father. The loans, the foreclosures, the fake bankruptcy claims. All of it. Meet me at the old boathouse. 1 hour. Come alone." He hung up. Willow grabbed my arm. "You can't go alone. What if it's a trap?" "It's not." I gathered my recording equipment. He's scared, and I want to know why. The boathouse sat on the edge of the lake where I'd learned to swim. It looked smaller now, weathered by time and neglect. My father waited inside, sitting on an old wooden chair. "You're recording this, aren't you?" he asked as I entered. I held up my microphone. "Always." "Good." He pulled out a thick manila envelope. "Then record this too, the whole truth, finally." The envelope contained photographs, documents, and a handwritten confession. My father's hands trembled as he spread them out. "I didn't start this," he said quietly. "I inherited it, from my father, who inherited it from his. A system designed to keep certain families in power, others in poverty. I thought I could change it from the inside, make it better somehow." "But you didn't," I said. "You made it worse." "Yes." He looked at me directly. "And then you were born. I saw how different you were, honest, principled, strong. I knew you could never be part of this. So I pushed you away from the family business, encouraged your journalism, your independence, while still destroying other people's lives? The system was bigger than me by then. Powerful people, old money families. They don't let go easily. When you started your business, they wanted to corrupt you too. The online company's failure wasn't an accident." My heart stopped. "What?" "They sabotaged you, because you wouldn't play by their rules." He handed me another document. "Here's the proof. Names, dates, everything." "Why are you telling me this now?" "Because they're coming for you next." He stood up, pacing. "The podcast, the exposures, you're disrupting decades of carefully maintained power structures. They won't allow it." A car door slammed outside, then another. "They followed me," my father whispered. "I'm sorry. I thought I had more time." Footsteps crunched on gravel. Multiple sets. "The evidence," I said quickly, gathering the papers. "Is there more?" "Hidden safe in my study. Behind the painting of the lake. Combination is your birthday." He pushed me toward the back door. "Go, now. Tell the whole story." "Dad, go." He shoved the manila envelope into my hands. "I'll hold them off. Make it right, Carmen. All of it." I slipped out the back, just as the front door burst open. Through the weathered walls, I heard my father's voice, strong and clear. "Gentlemen, I've been expecting you." Running through the woods, clutching the evidence to my chest, I called Willow. "Get out of the apartment," I gasped. "Get somewhere safe. And send that encrypted email dump to every news outlet we know. Now." "What about you?" "I'm going to the house, to the study. There's more evidence." "The police?" "No time. Just do it." "And Willow?" I paused, catching my breath. "Thank you, for everything." I could hear shouting from the boathouse now, car engines starting. The truth wasn't just dangerous anymore, it was deadly. But I had come too far to stop now. My father had finally chosen a side. Now it was my turn to finish what he started. The whole system was about to come crashing down. And this time, the right people would be buried in the rubble. The house alarm didn't sound when I broke in through the kitchen window. Of course not. I still knew the code from childhood. Some things never change. My father's study was exactly as I remembered. Leather-bound books, expensive artwork, the familiar painting of the lake hanging above his desk. I could hear voices downstairs, security guards making their rounds. The safe clicked open on the first try. My birthday, just like he said. Hands where I can see them. I froze. My mother stood in the doorway, holding what looked like my father's antique revolver. "Really, Mother? You're going to shoot me?" "You've ruined everything." Her voice shook. "The accounts are frozen. The house is under surveillance. Your father's probably dead because of you." I turned slowly, documents clutched to my chest. He chose to tell the truth. Finally. "The truth?" She laughed hysterically. "The truth is that we protected you, all of you. Do you know what these people do to threats?" Footsteps thundered up the stairs. "Put the gun down," I said quietly. "Help me expose them, all of them." For a moment, something flickered in her eyes. Maybe regret, maybe fear. Then her expression hardened. "Mrs. Ortiz?" a man's voice called from the hallway. "We heard voices." "In here!" she shouted. "She's in here!" I dove behind the desk as two men in dark suits burst in. Not security guards. Something much worse. "The documents," one demanded. "Hand them over." "Already uploaded," I lied, buying time. "Every major news outlet has them." "She's bluffing," my mother said. "Check her phone." I grabbed the heavy brass paperweight from the desk and hurled it at the overhead light. The room plunged into darkness. Chaos erupted. My mother screamed. The men cursed. I rolled toward the window, clutching the safe's contents. A gunshot cracked. Plaster exploded near my head. The window was already open from my earlier escape plan. I didn't hesitate. 3 stories up, but the old oak tree was right where it had always been. My childhood escape route. Branches whipped past as I half climbed, half fell. My phone buzzed in my pocket. Willow. "They're coming," she said when I answered, running across the lawn. "Police, FBI, everyone. The email dump went live. It's everywhere." "Meet me at the backup location," I gasped. "Bring everything." More shots rang out, car engines roared to life. I sprinted through the garden, past the fountain where this had all started. My mother's voice echoed behind me. "You're just like your father, too stubborn to know when to stop." Maybe she was right. The emergency studio we'd set up in an abandoned radio station was still secure. Willow was already there, equipment running. "You're bleeding," she said as I burst in. "Just scratches." I spread the documents across the table. "We need to go live. Now." Already streaming, 500,000 viewers waiting. I collapsed into the chair, pulling the microphone close. "This is Carmen, and you're listening to the final episode of Family Secrets. Tonight, we're going to tell you the real story. The one they've killed to keep hidden." My phone lit up with messages. "Stella, from prison. Don't do this. Tamara. They'll kill us all. Jason. You stupid bitch." I ignored them all. 30 years ago, a group of powerful families created a system designed to maintain their wealth and power at any cost. They called it economic restructuring. In reality, it was organized theft on a massive scale. Police sirens wailed in the distance. My father was part of it. So was my mother. So were dozens of other respected business leaders and politicians. Tonight, I'm going to name every single one of them. Willow's eyes went wide as she read through the documents. "Aunt Carmen, these go all the way to the governor's office." Good. I took a deep breath. Because here's the truth about power. It only works when people are afraid. And I'm not afraid anymore. The studio door burst open. But instead of dark-suited men with guns, FBI agents poured in, led by a familiar face, Maria Santos, now wearing a federal badge. "Keep broadcasting," she said, smiling. "We've got you covered." For the next hour, I laid it all out. Every name, every crime, every life destroyed by greed and corruption. The viewer count hit 1 million, then 2. My mother was arrested trying to flee the country. My father was found at the boathouse, injured but alive. The men who'd chased me were in custody. "This isn't just my family's story," I said finally, voice raw from talking. "It's the story of every family destroyed by greed, every life ruined by corruption, every truth buried by power. But not anymore." Willow touched my arm, showing me her phone. The story was everywhere. Arrests were being made across the city. The whole corrupt system was crumbling. "So what now?" she asked as I finally fell silent. I looked at Maria, who nodded encouragingly. "Now," I smiled. "Now we start rebuilding. The right way this time." The red recording light blinked off for the last time. But the truth? The truth was just getting started. The courthouse steps were crowded with reporters as I made my way inside. My testimony today would be the final piece in a prosecution that had shaken the city to its core. "Ready?" Maria touched my arm as we approached the courtroom. "Born ready." I straightened my jacket. "How many are pleading guilty?" 17 so far, including your sister Stella." She checked her notes. Tamara's testimony helped crack the bigger cases. Jason's still fighting, but with the evidence we found in those safe documents. The heavy doors opened. The courtroom was packed, but my eyes went straight to the familiar faces. My mother, hollow-eyed in designer clothes that couldn't hide her defeat. My father, looking smaller somehow in his orange jumpsuit, but meeting my gaze steadily. "The prosecution calls Carmen to the stand." Walking to the witness box, I passed Willow sitting with her new guardian, my Aunt Patricia, the only family member who'd stayed clean through everything. They both gave me encouraging smiles. Please state your name for the record. Carmen Ortiz. Ms. Ortiz, please tell the court how you first discovered the systematic corruption within your family's business dealings. I leaned into the microphone. It started with a podcast. For the next hour, I laid out everything. The Martinez case, the foreclosure scheme, the decades of corruption that had destroyed countless lives. This time, though, it wasn't for listeners or viewers. It was for justice. And your father's confession at the boathouse, was that coerced in any way? No. I looked at him directly. He chose to tell the truth. Finally. My father nodded slightly, and for the first time since this all began, I felt something like forgiveness stir in my heart. The defense attorney stood for cross-examination. Isn't it true that your podcast was motivated by revenge after your family criticized your failed business venture? My business didn't fail, I corrected him. It was sabotaged by the same people who destroyed the Martinez family and countless others. The podcast wasn't about revenge. It was about truth. The truth? My mother's voice rang out suddenly. The truth is you destroyed this family. Order! The judge banged his gavel. No, Mother. I kept my voice steady. The family destroyed itself. I just turned on the lights. After court adjourned, Maria caught up with me in the hallway. The governor's office called. They want to create an anti-corruption task force. They want you to head it. I laughed. Me? The podcast girl? The journalist who exposed the biggest corruption scandal in state history, she corrected. The woman who proved that truth still matters. Willow appeared, tablet in hand. The documentary makers are here, and 3 more publishers want to talk about the book. Tell them all the same thing, I said. Any proceeds go to the Victims Fund, starting with the Martinez family. Outside, the media circus waited. But among the reporters, I spotted familiar faces. Families who'd lost everything to my father's schemes. People who'd been silenced for decades. They weren't here for interviews. They were here for closure. My father was led past in handcuffs, pausing briefly beside me. I'm proud of you, he said quietly, for being stronger than I ever was. I learned something from you after all, I replied. How not to live. Stella was next, her lawyer's confidence replaced by genuine remorse. The Martinez girl, she whispered. I see her face every night. Good, I said. Remember it when you're rebuilding your life. Do better this time. My phone buzzed. A message from Tamara in witness protection. They're letting me teach accounting to at-risk youth, trying to use what I know for good this time. Ms. Carmen, a young reporter pushed forward. What's next for you? I looked at Willow, who'd shown more integrity at 15 than my entire family had in generations. At Maria, who'd turned her family's tragedy into a force for justice. At the victims' families, finally seeing justice served. What's next? I smiled. We keep telling stories, the ones that need to be told, the ones that change things. And the podcast? Someone called out. Family Secrets is done, I said. But the truth? The truth is just getting started. Later that evening, I stood in front of my old family home, now being converted into a community center for financial literacy and legal aid. The fountain still sparkled in the sunset, but now it seemed to be washing away the past, making room for something new. Ready to go? Willow asked, carrying the last box of recording equipment. Almost. I touched the familiar marble, remembering the night this all began. The broken champagne glass, the cruel words. The moment I decided enough was enough. Sometimes the truth costs you everything you thought you wanted, only to give you everything you actually needed. Okay, I said, turning away from the fountain. Let's go make some good trouble. Behind us, the sun set on the old world of power and secrets. Ahead lay something better, a world built on truth, justice, and the courage to fight for both. It wasn't a perfect ending, but it was a true one, and that made all the difference.
The ivory silk pooled at my feet like spilled milk, its delicate beading scattered across the floor like broken dreams. My wedding dress, the one I'd spent months saving for, lay ruined before me, covered in what looked like red wine stains and God knows what else. My hands trembled as I lifted it from the storage box, the fabric heavy with the weight of betrayal. I'm Delaney, and this was supposed to be the happiest time of my life. In 3 weeks, I was going to marry Jordan, the most supportive man I'd ever met. But standing there in my childhood bedroom, staring at my destroyed dress, I felt the familiar ache of being the responsible daughter, the one who always got pushed aside. "Oh my God, what happened?" Serenity gasped from the doorway. My best friend rushed to my side, her eyes wide with horror. "Emma," I whispered, my voice cracking. "This has Emma written all over it." Right on cue, my younger sister's laughter echoed up the stairs. She was home from college for the weekend, probably sharing stories with Mom about her latest adventures. The golden child, as always. "Emma," I shouted, my voice carrying through the house. The laughter stopped. Footsteps thundered up the stairs, and Emma appeared in the doorway, Mom right behind her. My sister's face went pale when she saw what I was holding. "I can explain," Emma started, holding up her hands. "Explain, explain." I thrust the dress toward her. "How do you explain this?" Mom stepped between us, her face already set in that placating expression I knew too well. "Delaney, honey, let's not overreact." "Overreact?" I laughed, the sound bitter even to my own ears. "My wedding dress is ruined, Mom. The dress I spent $6,000 on." Emma's voice came out small. "I just wanted to try it on. There was this party, and I thought—" "You thought what? That you could just take my wedding dress to a college party?" The pieces clicked together, the wine stains, the torn beading, the smell of cigarette smoke clinging to the fabric. "I'll pay for it," Emma said quickly. "I promise, Del. I'll get you a new one." "With what money?" I shot back. "Your student loans? Or were you planning to get Mom to pay for it like everything else?" "That's enough," Mom cut in, her tone sharp. "Emma made a mistake, but we can fix this. I'll help pay for a new dress." I shook my head, tears burning in my eyes. "That's not the point, Mom. It's never been the point." Serenity placed a hand on my shoulder, grounding me. She'd witnessed this dynamic for years. Emma messing up, Mom swooping in to fix it, and me, always me, expected to understand, to forgive, to be the bigger person. "Ever since Dad died," I continued, my voice shaking, "it's been like this. Emma gets whatever she wants, does whatever she wants, and I'm just supposed to smile and take it." "That's not fair," Mom protested. "Your sister's been through a lot." "And I haven't?" I interrupted. "I was 16 when Dad died too, Mom. 16, but instead of getting comfort, I got responsibility. Take care of your sister, Delaney. Be understanding, Delaney. Don't make waves, Delaney." Emma's face crumpled. "I didn't mean to ruin it, I swear. I just wanted to feel special for one night." "Special?" I laughed again, the sound hollow. "You've been special your entire life, Emma. When's the last time anyone in this family made me feel special?" The silence that followed was deafening. Mom's face had gone pale, and Emma looked like she might cry. Good. Let them feel uncomfortable for once. "I have to call Jordan," I said, gathering up the ruined dress. "And then, I need to figure out how I'm going to find another dress in 3 weeks." "Delaney," Mom started, reaching for me. I stepped back. Don't. Serenity followed me out of the room, leaving Mom and Emma standing there. As we descended the stairs, I heard Emma's muffled sobs and Mom's soft murmurs of comfort. Of course, even now, Emma was the one being consoled. In the kitchen, I collapsed onto a chair, the dress a sad heap in my lap. Serenity started making coffee without asking. She knew me too well. "You know what the worst part is?" I said, fingering a loose beading. "I'm not even surprised. Deep down, I knew something like this would happen. Something always does when it comes to Emma." Serenity set a steaming mug in front of me. "Maybe it's time to stop letting them get away with it." I looked up at her, surprised by the steel in her voice. "I'm serious, Del. You're getting married, starting your own family. Maybe it's time to show them exactly what it feels like when karma comes calling. I wrapped my hands around the warm mug, considering her words. For the first time since finding the dress, I felt something other than despair, something that felt dangerously like purpose. Maybe you're right, I said softly. Maybe it's finally time. Your sister's graduation is next weekend, Mum announced over breakfast, sliding a glossy invitation across the table. I expect you'll be there. I stared at the gold-embossed card, my coffee turning bitter in my mouth. 1 week had passed since the wedding dress incident, and I'd spent every night scrolling through bridal boutiques, trying to find a replacement I could afford. I'm busy, I said, pushing the invitation back. Wedding stuff. Mom's lips tightened. Delaney, this is important. Emma's graduating summa cum laude. Of course she is. I stabbed at my eggs. And I'm sure you'll throw her an amazing party with the money you saved by not helping with my dress. That's not fair, Mom protested. I offered to help pay. After Emma ruined it, I slammed my fork down. You know what? I actually have an idea for her graduation gift. Maybe I'll wear my ruined wedding dress to her ceremony. You know, since she liked it so much. Mom's face went pale. You wouldn't dare. Wouldn't I? I stood up, gathering my things. It's what she wanted, right? To feel special? Del? Jordan's voice came from the doorway. My fiancé stood there, looking concerned. I hadn't heard him come in. Perfect timing, I said, grabbing my bag. Let's go. Outside, Jordan caught my arm. Hey, what was that about? Nothing. I yanked open his car door. Just my mother being herself. He slid into the driver's seat, studying me. You're really thinking about wearing the ruined dress to Emma's graduation? Maybe. I crossed my arms. Would it be so wrong? Let everyone see what she did. Del, Jordan sighed. I know you're hurt, but... My phone buzzed. Emma's name flashed on the screen. I declined the call. She's called 6 times since yesterday, Jordan noted, and I'll ignore 600 more. I stared out the window. You didn't see Mum's face when it happened, Jordan. She was more worried about Emma feeling bad than about what Emma actually did. Another buzz. This time a text from Emma. Please talk to me. I'm so sorry. I'll do anything to make it right. I typed back. Anything? How about giving back all the attention Mom gave you instead of me after Dad died? The response was immediate. That's not fair. I never asked for that. But you never stopped it either, I sent back, then turned my phone off. Jordan pulled into the bridal boutique's parking lot. You sure about this? About finding a new dress? Don't have much choice. No, about letting this anger consume you. He turned to face me. I've never seen you like this, Del. I met his eyes. Maybe that's the problem. Maybe I've been too nice for too long. Inside the boutique, Serenity was waiting. She hugged me tight. Found some options already. Wait till you see them. As I tried on dresses, my mind kept wandering to Emma's graduation. The image of me showing up in the stained dress, making a scene. It was tempting. So tempting. What about this one? Serenity held up a sleek, modern gown. It's beautiful, I admitted. But it's not. Not the one you spent months saving for, she finished. My phone buzzed again. Jordan had turned it back on. This time it was Mom. Emma's crying in her room. Is this really how you want things to be? I showed Serenity the message. See? Emma cries and I'm the bad guy. Again. So do something about it, Serenity said, her voice low. But do it smart. The graduation stunt? That's not you. You want revenge? Make it count. I raised an eyebrow. What do you mean? The wedding, your speech. Tell everyone exactly what it's been like. Let them all see the truth. I sat down heavily in my wedding dress, the new one we'd just found. It was beautiful, but it felt wrong. Everything felt wrong. I can't do that, I whispered. It would destroy Mom. Like she destroyed your childhood, Serenity countered. Like Emma destroyed your dress. My phone buzzed again. Emma had sent a photo, her and me at Dad's funeral, holding hands. The message read, Remember when we were actually sisters? I felt tears prick my eyes. I don't know what to do anymore. Serenity sat beside me. Yes, you do. You're just scared to do it. She was right. The thought had been there since the dress incident, growing stronger with each dismissed feeling, each ignored call, each manipulative text from Mum. I picked up my phone and typed, "Emma, you want to make things right? Then it's time for some truth. Meet me tomorrow, alone." The response came quickly. "Where?" "Dad's grave, noon. No, Mom." I looked up at Serenity, my heart pounding. Either this fixes everything, or it breaks it all apart, she finished. But at least it'll be honest. I nodded, standing up in my new dress. In the mirror, I barely recognized myself. But maybe that was the point. Maybe it was time to become someone new, someone who wouldn't stay quiet anymore. Dad's headstone cast a long shadow in the midday sun. I arrived early, my hands shaking as I placed fresh flowers beside his name. The cemetery was quiet, except for distant traffic and birds calling overhead. "I thought I'd find you here already." Emma's voice made me jump. She looked smaller somehow, wearing Dad's old college sweatshirt, the one she'd claimed after he died. "You're wearing his shirt," I said flatly. "So are you." She gestured to the faded baseball cap I was wearing, Dad's favorite Red Sox cap. We stood in awkward silence until Emma spoke again. "Mom doesn't know I'm here." "Good." I sat down on the grass, patting the spot next to me. "Remember when we used to come here together? Before you got too busy with your new friends?" Emma sank down beside me. "That's not fair." "Life's not fair." I plucked at the grass. "Like when Dad died and Mom decided you needed her more than I did." "I never asked." "I know you didn't ask for it," I cut her off. "But you took it, all of it. The attention, the money, the endless second chances." Emma's voice cracked. "I was falling apart, Del. You seemed so strong." "I had to be." The words exploded out of me. Someone had to keep it together. Someone had to make sure the bills got paid while Mum was focused on your therapy, your college applications, your everything. "I didn't know," Emma whispered. "Remember my high school graduation?" I asked. "Mum left early because you had a panic attack about starting college in the fall." Emma's face crumpled. "I remember. Or my college acceptance letter. Mum barely looked at it because you'd just broken up with your first boyfriend." "Stop," Emma pleaded. "Or how about last Christmas, when Mum gave you Dad's watch, the one he promised to me, because you needed something to remember him by?" Tears were streaming down Emma's face now. "I'll give it back. I'll give it all back." "You can't." I turned to face her fully. "That's the point, Emma. You can't give back the years Mum spent treating me like an afterthought. You can't give back the moments I needed my mother and she was too busy with you." "So what do you want from me?" Emma asked, wiping her eyes. "I want you to understand what you're really apologizing for. It's not just about the dress." "Then tell me," she said. "Help me understand." I pulled out my phone and opened my photos. "Look at these." I started scrolling through pictures. Emma's high school graduation, with Mom beaming. Emma's college move-in day, with Mom crying proud tears. Emma's art show, with Mom proudly displaying the pieces. "Now look for pictures of Mom at my events," I said quietly. Emma scrolled, her face growing more troubled. "There aren't many, because she wasn't there." "Not really. She was always leaving early or showing up late because of something you needed." "Del," Emma's voice was barely audible. "I never saw it. I never realized." "No, you didn't. And now you've ruined my wedding dress, and Mum's first response was to protect your feelings. Again." Emma reached for my hand. I let her take it, remembering how we used to sit just like this after Dad died. "What can I do?" she asked. "Tell me how to fix this." I squeezed her hand. "First, you need to stop letting Mom make excuses for you. Stand up and take responsibility." She nodded. And I took a deep breath. "I need you to stand with me at the wedding, not just as my sister, but as someone who finally sees the truth." "What do you mean?" "I'm going to say some things in my speech, things Mom won't like hearing, things that need to be said." Emma was quiet for a long moment. You're going to call her out? At your wedding? Not to hurt her, I explained. To heal. To finally be heard. She'll be devastated. I've been devastated for years, I countered. Maybe it's time she understood how that feels. Emma looked at Dad's headstone, then back at me. He would want us to fix this, to be sisters again. We can't be sisters again until we're honest about what broke us apart. She nodded slowly. Okay, I'll stand with you. Whatever you need to say, I'll back you up. I felt something shift between us, like a wall crumbling or a wound finally starting to heal. The dress, Emma started, is ruined, I finished. But maybe that needed to happen. Maybe we needed everything to fall apart so we could put it back together right. Emma leaned her head on my shoulder, just like she used to when we were kids. I'm sorry, Del, for everything. For the first time since finding the ruined dress, I felt the knot in my chest loosen slightly. This wasn't forgiveness, not yet, but it was a start. I know, I said softly. I know you are. The rehearsal dinner buzzed with conversation and clinking glasses. I sat at the head table, watching Emma chat with Jordan's family, while Mom fluttered around her like a nervous butterfly. Some things never change. You okay? Jordan squeezed my hand under the table. Fine, I lied, taking another sip of wine. Just ready for this to be over. Milena, Jordan's mother, leaned in from my other side. Delaney, dear, is everything all right? You seem tense. Before I could answer, Mom clinked her glass. Everyone, I think it's time for some toasts. My stomach clenched. We hadn't planned for toasts tonight. That was supposed to be tomorrow, at the wedding. Emma has prepared something special, Mom announced, beaming. Of course she had. Emma stood, looking uncertain. She caught my eye, and I saw a flash of guilt cross her face. She hadn't mentioned this to me during our cemetery talk. Emma cleared her throat. I want to tell a story about my sister. The room fell quiet. I gripped my wineglass tighter. When we were little, Delaney was always the responsible one, the perfect one. Emma's voice wavered. After Dad died, she became even more perfect. While I was falling apart, she was holding everything together. Mom's smile faltered slightly. I never appreciated that, Emma continued. I never saw how much she gave up for me. And recently, I did something unforgivable. I ruined her wedding dress because I was selfish and thoughtless. Gasps and murmurs rippled through the room. Mom stepped forward, probably to interrupt, but Emma held up her hand. No, Mom, let me finish. Emma's voice grew stronger. Delaney found another dress, a beautiful one. But that's not the point. The point is, I've been taking things from her my whole life, and it's time I gave something back. She reached into her purse and pulled out a familiar leather case. Dad's watch. Del, this belongs to you. Dad promised it to you, and I had no right to accept it when Mum gave it to me. Mum's face went white. Emma, that's not necessary. Yes, it is, Emma insisted. She walked over and placed the watch in front of me. It's time for things to change. The silence in the room was deafening. I stared at the watch, my vision blurring with tears. Well, Milena said brightly, too brightly, shall we move on to dinner? But Emma wasn't finished. And Mom, we need to talk about... That's enough, Emma, Mom cut in sharply. This isn't the time or place. When is the time? I found myself standing, my chair scraping back. When it's convenient for you. When it won't make you look bad. Jordan touched my arm. Del, maybe we should... No. I picked up the watch, its familiar weight grounding me. Emma's right. Things need to change. Mom's face hardened. Delaney, you're making a scene. Am I? I laughed. Funny how that only matters when it's me doing it. When Emma makes scenes, they're just crying for help. Perhaps we should take a break, Milena suggested, standing. Clear the room for a moment? But people were already watching, riveted by the family drama unfolding before them. You know what? I said, clasping Dad's watch around my wrist. You're right, Mom. This isn't the place. We'll save it for tomorrow. What's tomorrow? Mom asked, her voice sharp with worry. My wedding, I reminded her. You remember, the one where I'm wearing my second-choice dress because you couldn't be bothered to hold Emma accountable. That wedding. Delaney, Mom warned. Don't worry, I said, sitting back down. I'm done. For now. The rest of dinner passed in awkward conversation and pointed silences. Emma kept trying to catch my eye, but I focused on my plate. Jordan's family made valiant attempts at small talk, while Mom sat rigid beside me, barely touching her food. Later, as guests were leaving, Milena pulled me aside. I know family pain when I see it, she said quietly. And I know there's more to this story than a ruined dress. I nodded, unable to speak. Whatever you're planning to say tomorrow, she continued, make sure you're saying it for the right reasons. Not for revenge, but for healing. How did you know I was planning something? Milena smiled sadly. Because I see myself in you. The dutiful daughter who finally reached her breaking point. She squeezed my arm. Just remember, once words are said, they can't be unsaid. I watched her walk away, her words echoing in my head. Across the room, Mom was helping Emma with her coat, fussing over her as always. But this time, Emma gently pushed her hands away. I can do it myself, Mom, I heard her say. I'm not a child anymore. Mom's hands fell to her sides, lost without someone to fuss over. For a moment, she looked old and uncertain. I touched Dad's watch, feeling its steady tick against my wrist. Tomorrow would change everything. I just hoped we'd all survive the fallout. You look beautiful, Serenity said, adjusting my veil. The new dress wasn't the one I'd dreamed of, but it fit perfectly, both the dress and the moment. Thanks. I checked my reflection, Dad's watch gleaming at my wrist. Have you seen Emma? She's keeping your mum busy in the other room. Serenity smirked. Very busy. Last I heard, she was having an elaborate crisis about her makeup. A knock at the door made us both turn. Milena entered, carrying a small box. I have something for you, she said, closing the door behind her. But first we need to talk. My stomach tightened. About your mother. Milena sat down, patting the chair beside her. And about what I know, I exchanged glances with Serenity, who nodded and slipped out of the room. What do you mean, what you know? I asked, sitting down carefully in my dress. Your father's life insurance policy, Milena said quietly. I was his financial advisor. My heart stopped. What about it? It was substantial, very substantial. Milena opened the box, revealing documents. And it was meant to be split equally between you and Emma. The room seemed to tilt. But Mom said, she said there was barely enough to cover the funeral. There was enough to pay for both your college educations, with plenty left over. Milena's voice was gentle but firm. Your mother chose to handle it differently. My hands shook as I took the papers. She used it all on Emma. Private therapy, college tuition, that apartment in the city. Milena nodded. Meanwhile, you worked through school, took out loans. Does Emma know? I don't believe so. Milena touched my arm. I've wanted to tell you for years, but professionally, I couldn't. Now that you're getting married, these records legally belong to you. Hot tears splashed onto the papers. Why are you telling me this now? Because you deserve to know the truth before you make your speech. She squeezed my hand. And because sometimes, the kindest thing we can do is force people to face their mistakes. A soft knock interrupted us. Emma poked her head in. Mum's finally settled. I told her I needed... Dell, are you crying? I quickly wiped my eyes. Happy tears, wedding day and all. Emma didn't look convinced. She came in, closing the door. What are those papers? Milena stood. I'll give you two a moment. After she left, Emma picked up one of the documents. Her face went pale as she read. Is this real? She whispered. I nodded. Apparently Mum's been lying to both of us. Emma sank into a chair. All those times you were working double shifts in college, when you couldn't afford your textbooks. While you had that nice apartment near campus, I finished. I didn't know, Emma said, her voice breaking. I swear, Dell, I didn't know. I believe you. And surprisingly, I did. But Mom knew. She knew every time I called home crying about money. Every time I had to skip a class because I couldn't afford the materials. Emma's makeup was starting to run. What are you going to do? What I planned to do anyway. I stood, smoothing my dress. Tell the truth. In your speech. In my speech. I checked the time. 20 minutes until the ceremony. You still with me? Emma stood, squaring her shoulders. Always. From now on, always. We hugged carefully, mindful of our dresses and makeup. When we pulled apart, Emma was smiling through her tears. You know what's funny, she said. That ruined dress might be the best thing that ever happened to us. A knock at the door announced Serenity's return. It's time, Dell. I took one last look in the mirror. The woman staring back wasn't the same one who'd found her ruined wedding dress weeks ago. She was stronger now, clearer. Ready? Emma asked. Almost. I turned to her. Just stay close during the reception. When I start my speech, I might need you. Front table right beside you, she promised. And Dell, I'm sorry. For everything. But mostly for not seeing what was happening all these years. The wedding march began playing distantly. Serenity handed me my bouquet, and Emma quickly fixed her makeup. Let's go get you married, Serenity said. Then we can deal with everything else. As we lined up outside the chapel doors, I caught sight of Mom in the front row, dabbing her eyes theatrically. She had no idea what was coming. Part of me felt guilty, but then I thought of all those nights I'd cried myself to sleep, wondering why I wasn't enough for her. Dad's watch ticked steadily at my wrist, like a countdown to truth. The doors opened, and the music swelled. It was time to walk down the aisle, say my vows, and then finally, say everything else I'd been holding back for years. I took my first step forward, Emma and Serenity behind me, toward Jordan and our future, toward the moment when everything would change. The reception was in full swing when I approached the microphone. Jordan squeezed my hand one last time before I stood, champagne glass trembling slightly in my grip. The usual clinking of glasses quieted the room. First, I want to thank everyone for being here today, I began, my voice steady despite my racing heart. Marriage is about honesty, trust, and facing hard truths together. So in that spirit, I'd like to tell you all a story. Mom shifted in her seat, her smile becoming fixed. Emma reached over and gripped my free hand. When I was 16, my father died. He left behind 2 daughters and a substantial life insurance policy meant to take care of both of us equally. I paused, watching Mom's face pale. I only learned this morning that while I worked my way through college, that money was being spent elsewhere. Murmurs rippled through the crowd. Mom started to stand, but Milena's hand on her arm kept her seated. But this isn't just about money, I continued. It's about a pattern, about a mother who decided one daughter needed her more than the other, about years of missed moments and dismissed feelings. Delaney, Mom's voice carried across the room, warning in her tone. No, Mom, you've done enough talking. I held up my wrist, displaying Dad's watch. Remember giving this to Emma? Dad's watch, the one he specifically promised to me. You gave it away because Emma needed something to remember him by. As if I didn't need that too. The room was dead silent now. Even the servers had stopped moving. And then there's the wedding dress incident. I smiled without humor. My sister took my wedding dress to a party without permission and ruined it. And you, Mom, your first concern was making sure Emma didn't feel too bad about it. That's not fair. Mom stood up, her voice shaking. I offered to pay. With what money? I cut in. The money you took from my half of Dad's insurance, the money that was supposed to help me through college. Gasps echoed through the room. Emma stood up beside me, her voice clear and strong. It's true, she announced. I saw the documents today. Mom, how could you? Mom's face crumpled. I was trying to protect you, Emma. You were so fragile after your father died. And I wasn't, I interrupted. Or did you just decide I could handle it because I didn't fall apart as publicly as Emma did? You were always stronger, Mom pleaded. I had to be. My voice cracked. You didn't give me a choice. Every time I needed you, you were too busy with Emma's latest crisis. Every time I accomplished something, it got overshadowed by Emma's needs. Milena stood up then, addressing the room. As Richard's financial advisor, I can confirm everything Delaney is saying. The insurance policy was explicitly meant to be divided equally. Mom sank back into her chair, tears streaming down her face. I thought I was doing what was best. Best for who, Mom? Emma asked. Not for Delaney, and not for me either. You didn't help me by teaching me that my feelings mattered more than everyone else's. I took a deep breath, steadying myself. I'm not saying this to hurt you, Mom. I'm saying it because I'm done pretending everything's okay. I'm done being the responsible one who never complains. I'm done watching you favor one daughter while ignoring the other. Jordan stood up then, moving to my side. And I'm done watching my wife hurt in silence. So what happens now? Mom asked, her voice small. Now? I set down my glass. Now we start over, with truth this time. No more pretending, no more favoritism, no more lies about money or anything else. Emma nodded firmly. And if you can't do that, Mum, then you'll lose both of us. The silence that followed was heavy with years of unspoken pain and betrayal. Then, from the back of the room, someone started clapping. Others joined in, until the whole room was applauding. Mum sat there, mascara running down her face, looking smaller than I'd ever seen her. Part of me wanted to comfort her, to fall back into old patterns, but Emma's hand was still in mine, squeezing tight, reminding me why we were doing this. I'm sorry, Mum whispered, but in the quiet room everyone heard. I'm so sorry. Sorry isn't enough anymore, I said gently. We need change, real change. I turned back to the microphone. Thank you all for witnessing this. It wasn't the wedding speech I originally planned, but it's the one that needed to be said. As I stepped away from the microphone, Jordan wrapped his arms around me. Over his shoulder, I saw Milena nodding approvingly, Serenity wiping away tears, and Emma standing tall beside me. Mom sat alone at her table, finally facing the consequences of years of choices. It wasn't the happy ending she'd probably imagined for my wedding day, but maybe it was the beginning we all needed. The band started playing again, filling the awkward silence. As Jordan led me to the dance floor for our first dance, I felt lighter somehow. The truth was out, the wounds were exposed, and now, finally, they could begin to heal. The morning after the wedding, I found Mom sitting alone in my childhood kitchen, staring at an old photo album. She looked up when I entered, her eyes red and swollen. I thought you'd be on your honeymoon, she said softly. We leave tonight. I started making coffee, the familiar routine steadying my hands. Jordan's helping Emma move some of her things from your house. She's moving out? Mum's voice cracked. Into my old apartment. We thought it would be good for her to stand on her own 2 feet. I set a mug in front of her. For both of us to stand on our own. Mom traced the rim of her mug. I got calls all morning. Aunt Sarah, Uncle Mike. They all want to know if what you said was true. And what did you tell them? The truth, finally. She pulled out a thick envelope. I went to the bank this morning. It's not everything. I can't get it all at once, but it's a start. I stared at the envelope. Mom, it's your money, Delaney. It always was. She pushed it toward me. I can't undo what I did, but I can start making it right. The front door opened, and Emma's voice carried through the house. Del, you here? Carson's truck is loaded up. She appeared in the doorway, freezing when she saw Mom. Jordan and Carson, Emma's boyfriend, hung back awkwardly. Should we come back? Jordan asked. No, I said firmly. We all need to talk anyway. Emma sat down across from Mom while the guys brought in more boxes. The kitchen felt crowded with unspoken words. I found something this morning, Emma said, pulling out a folded paper. My therapy bills from college. The real ones, not the ones you showed me. Mom's hands began to shake. Emma, you told me they were $300 per session. Emma's voice was steady. They were actually $150. Where did the other half go? To my account, Mom whispered, to cover other expenses. My expenses? I asked. The ones you claimed you couldn't help with? Mom nodded, tears falling. I was so afraid of Emma falling apart again, of losing her like we almost did after your father died. I convinced myself it was okay to use the money that way. I never asked you to steal from my sister, Emma said sharply. No, you didn't. Mom wiped her eyes. I did that all on my own. I told myself I was protecting you, but really, I was protecting myself. From guilt, from fear. From having to treat us equally, I finished. Jordan stepped forward. I think we should all sit down, really talk this through. We gathered around the kitchen table, the same table where we'd had countless family dinners, where Dad used to help us with homework, where everything had once seemed simple. I'm selling the house, Mom announced suddenly. What? Emma and I said together. It's too big for just me and... She took a deep breath. I need to pay back what I took. Both of you deserve to start your lives without debt. Mom, you don't have to, Emma started. Yes, I do. Mom's voice was stronger now. I've spent years making excuses, playing favorites, hiding the truth. It stops now. Carson, who'd been quiet until now, spoke up. Emma's been talking about starting her own art therapy practice. Maybe that money could help with that. Emma's eyes widened. I couldn't. Yes, you could, I said. That's exactly what Dad would have wanted. Both of us using our inheritance to build our futures. And me? Mom asked quietly. What happens with me? I reached across the table and took her hand. You get to prove that you meant everything you just said, that you're really ready to change. Starting with family therapy, Emma added, all three of us. Mom nodded, squeezing my hand. I'd like that. And Mom, I pulled out the envelope she'd given me earlier. Keep this for now. Use it to find a smaller place after you sell the house. We'll figure out the rest together. Fresh tears spilled down her cheeks, but these seemed different somehow. Lighter. I don't deserve such amazing daughters, she whispered. No, Emma agreed, but you can earn us back, day by day. Jordan wrapped an arm around my shoulders, and I leaned into him, watching my mother and sister across the table. We weren't fixed, not by a long shot, but for the first time in years, it felt like we were all facing the same direction. So, Carson said, breaking the heavy moment, who's helping me unload this truck? We all laughed, the tension breaking like a fever. As we moved boxes into Emma's new apartment, I caught glimpses of what could be. Sunday dinners where everyone felt valued, holidays without hidden resentments, a future where my children would never have to wonder if they were enough. Dad's watch ticked steadily on my wrist, marking each moment of this new beginning. Something told me he would have been proud, not of the secrets or the pain, but of the truth that finally set us free. The wind rustled through the cemetery trees as I placed fresh flowers on Dad's grave. This time, I wasn't alone. Emma sat beside me, and Mom stood slightly behind us, holding a small box. Should we do this here? Emma asked, glancing at Dad's headstone. He should be part of it, I said, even if it's just in spirit. Mom knelt down, opening the box. Inside lay Dad's watch, the one I'd worn at my wedding, the one that had sparked so much change. The jeweler sized it perfectly, Mom said, lifting it out. Are you sure about this, Delaney? I nodded. It's time. We'd spent the past few weeks in family therapy, unpacking years of hurt and resentment. It hadn't been easy. There were sessions where we'd all left in tears, days when it felt like we'd never move forward. But we kept going. Mom handed the watch to Emma, who turned it over in her hands, examining the new inscription on the back. For my sisters, she read aloud, time heals all wounds. Del, it's perfect. We'll share it, I explained. 6 months each, a reminder that we're both Dad's daughters, both equally worthy of his legacy. Mom wiped her eyes. He would have loved that. He would have loved seeing us finally acting like real sisters, Emma added, fastening the watch on her wrist, like we used to be. A car door slammed nearby, and we looked up to see Serenity approaching with a large portfolio. "Sorry I'm late," she called. "Traffic was awful, but I brought the designs." Emma jumped up excitedly. "Let me see." We gathered around as Serenity spread out the architectural plans for Emma's new art therapy studio, the one we were building together with our shared inheritance. "The contractor can start next month," Serenity explained, pointing to different areas. "Treatment rooms here, gallery space there, and this whole wall will be windows overlooking the garden." "It's perfect," Emma breathed. "Del, I still can't believe you're doing this with me." "That's what sisters do," I said. "Besides, my accounting firm needs new clients. You're stuck with me as your business manager whether you like it or not." Mom touched the plans gently. "Your father would be so proud of both of you, working together, supporting each other." "Speaking of support," Emma said, pulling out her phone, "I have something to show you both." She pulled up a photo of her latest art piece, a striking canvas split in two, one side dark and chaotic, the other emerging into light. "It's called Sisters," she explained. "I'm donating it to the Family Therapy Center. They're hanging it in the waiting room." Mom's hand flew to her mouth. "Oh, Emma." "That's not all," Emma continued. "I'm starting a scholarship program through the studio for siblings who need therapy but can't afford it, in Dad's name." I hugged her tight, both of us crying now. Even Mom stepped forward, tentatively wrapping her arms around us both. "Group hug," Serenity called, joining in. "Sorry, couldn't resist." We laughed through our tears, the sound echoing across the peaceful cemetery. When we pulled apart, Mom looked different somehow, lighter, more real. "I have something for you too," she said, reaching into her purse. She pulled out 2 sets of keys. "To my new condo, one for each of you. I want you to feel welcome there, always." "Thanks, Mom," Emma said softly. "And there's more," Mom continued. "I've started volunteering at the Grief Counseling Center, where we did family therapy, helping other families navigate loss and change. It's helping me understand everything better." I took my key, running my finger over its smooth surface. "New beginnings all around, huh?" "Speaking of which," Emma grinned, "when are you and Jordan making me an aunt?" "Emma!" I swatted her arm, laughing. "What? I need to know how long I have to finish the nursery mural I'm planning." We all laughed again, and this time it felt natural, unforced, like family should feel. "We should go," Serenity said, checking the time. "The contractor's meeting us at the studio site in 20 minutes. As we gathered our things, I touched Dad's headstone one last time. The watch gleamed on Emma's wrist, catching the sunlight. "Bye, Dad," I whispered. "We're okay now, promise." Walking back to our cars, I felt something settle in my chest, not the heavy weight of resentment I'd carried for so long, but something lighter, something like peace. "Ready?" Emma called, jangling her keys. "Ready," I answered, meaning so much more than just leaving the cemetery. Mom locked the box that had held the watch, tucking it into her purse. "My daughters," she said softly, proudly, and for the first time in years, she meant both of us equally. We drove away separately but headed to the same place, finally moving forward together. The past hadn't changed, but we had. And sometimes that's enough.
The notification from HR popped up on my screen, and I could barely contain my smile. After 6 years of grinding, staying late, and being everyone's go-to problem solver, I'd finally landed the senior manager position. My first thought wasn't about celebrating. It was about how I could break the news to my family without them turning it into another drama. My name is Laura, and I'm the human glue holding the Evans family together, or their personal servant, depending on how you look at it. "Laura!" My mother's shrill voice pierced through my bedroom wall. "The washing machine is making that noise again." I minimized the congratulatory email and sighed. "Coming, Mom." The washing machine wasn't actually broken. She just hadn't bothered to learn how to use it properly. Just like she hadn't bothered to learn how to use the dishwasher, the coffee maker, or basically anything else in the house that required reading instructions. "Oh, good, you're here," she said as I walked into the laundry room. "While you're at it, could you do Randy's shirts too? He has that important presentation tomorrow."
Randy, my 32-year-old brother who somehow never learned to do his own laundry. Mom, I have work to finish. It'll only take a minute. You know how important this is for him. Everything was always important for Randy, or essential for Natasha, or crucial for Dad's image at the country club. But my things? They were always just inconveniences. I fixed the washing machine settings and headed back to my room, only to find 3 texts from Natasha asking me to proofread her college essay. Again. The same essay I'd already reviewed twice this week. My phone buzzed with a call from Kayla, my best friend and the only person who truly understood my situation. "Please tell me you got it," she said before I could even say hello. I did. "Girl, I can hear you not celebrating. What's wrong?" I closed my bedroom door and lowered my voice. "I'm looking at apartments." "Finally. Where?" "Downtown, near the office. There's this gorgeous 1-bedroom with a balcony and..." A knock at my door cut me off. "Laura?" It was Dad. "The printer's not working, and I need these contracts for tomorrow." I covered the phone. "Did you check if it's out of paper?" "Just come fix it, please. You know I'm not good with these things." Kayla was still on the line. "Girl, I heard that. You need to tell them. Today." She was right. I'd been putting it off for weeks, knowing exactly how they'd react. But with the promotion now official, I couldn't delay any longer. "Family meeting," I called out after dinner, my heart pounding as they gathered in the living room. Mom was scrolling through her phone, Dad was half listening while reviewing his golf schedule, Natasha was texting, and Randy was the only one actually looking at me. "I got promoted today," I started, "to senior manager." "That's nice, dear," Mom said, not looking up from her phone. "And I'm moving out next month." The phones lowered. 4 pairs of eyes locked onto me. "Moving out?" Mom's voice cracked. "But why would you want to do that?" "Because I'm 29, Mom. I need my own space." "Space?" Dad scoffed. "You have plenty of space here. This is about money, isn't it? We can discuss reducing your rent." "It's not about money, Dad. I just need to live my own life." Randy leaned forward. "Come on, sis. You know we need you here. Who's going to help Mom with everything? Maybe you could all learn to help yourselves?" The words came out sharper than I intended. "I can't believe how selfish you're being," Natasha chimed in. "After everything this family's done for you, done for me." I wanted to laugh or scream. Instead, I stood up. "My mind's made up. I'm moving out next month." I retreated to my room, hands shaking as I opened my laptop. A notification popped up. Natasha had tagged me in a social media post. My stomach dropped as I read it. Some people forget where they came from. Some people think they're too good for family. Guess blood isn't always thicker than water. Disappointed family betrayal. Comments were already flowing in. Mom had shared it. Dad had commented. Even Randy, who I thought might understand, had added his own passive-aggressive response. My phone buzzed again. Kayla calling. But I couldn't answer. My eyes were fixed on the screen, reading comment after comment, each one twisting the knife deeper. They wanted to talk about betrayal, about disappointment. My cursor hovered over the comment box as memories of that night 6 years ago flooded back. The night I took the fall for Randy's mistake. The night that changed everything. The secret I'd kept all these years. Maybe it was time they learned what real betrayal felt like. My phone wouldn't stop buzzing. Kayla had called 6 times, but I couldn't talk to anyone right now. I was too busy scrolling through the comments on Natasha's post, each one more infuriating than the last. Can't believe she'd do this to her own family. Some people just don't appreciate what they have. What kind of daughter abandons her parents? The bedroom door creaked open. Randy stood there looking apologetic. "Hey sis, can we talk?" "About what?" "Your comment about how I'm throwing away years of family loyalty?" I turned my laptop screen toward him. "Or maybe Mom's post about her ungrateful daughter?" He sat on the edge of my bed. "Look, you know how they are. They're just shocked." "Shocked?" I laughed bitterly. "They're shocked that their personal assistant wants a life of her own? That's not fair." "Not fair?" I pulled up the family calendar on my phone. Last week alone, I drove Natasha to 3 different college interviews, fixed Dad's presentation, organized Mom's charity event, and did your laundry twice. Tell me, Randy, when was the last time you did anything for this family except take? His face reddened. "You know I've changed. I'm not that person anymore." "No, you're worse. At least that person was honest about who he was. My phone buzzed again. Kayla. This time I answered, putting it on speaker just to make Randy uncomfortable. Girl, what the hell is happening? Kayla's voice filled the room. Your family's going full nuclear on social media. They're showing their true colors. That's what's happening. I kept my eyes on Randy. Apparently, I'm selfish for wanting my own life. Laura, Randy started, but I cut him off. Remember that night 6 years ago, Randy? Remember what real selfishness looks like? He stood up so fast he knocked over my desk lamp. Don't, you promised. Kayla's voice crackled through the speaker. What night? What's he talking about? Nothing, Randy said quickly. Laura, can we talk about this privately? I ended the call with Kayla. Why? Worried about your perfect image? The reformed golden boy who can do no wrong? You're angry, I get it, but don't do something you'll regret. My laptop dinged with another notification. Mom had shared yet another post. A mother's heart breaks when her children choose selfishness over family. Praying for my daughter. Too late, I muttered, opening my own social media account. My fingers hovered over the keyboard. Randy grabbed my wrist. Laura, please, I'm begging you. I yanked my hand away. Get out. Look, I'll talk to them. I'll make them take down the posts. Just don't do this. A knock at the door interrupted us. Natasha barged in, waving her phone. Mom's crying because of you. Are you happy now? Oh, I'm about to be, I said, turning back to my laptop. What's that supposed to mean? Natasha looked between Randy and me. What's going on? Randy's voice was desperate. Nothing. Laura's just upset. Upset? I stood up. You want to see upset? Wait until everyone knows what really happened that night. Wait until they know who really... Enough! Randy's shout made both Natasha and me jump. He rarely raised his voice anymore. Please, Laura, I'll do anything. Just don't. Natasha crossed her arms. Don't what? What are you two talking about? My phone buzzed with a text from Kayla. Whatever you're thinking of doing, sleep on it first. Trust me. I looked at Randy's pleading face, at Natasha's confusion, at the stream of notifications still popping up on my screen. The secret I'd kept for 6 years burned in my throat, begging to be released. Get out, I said again, quieter this time. Both of you. After they left, I opened my laptop again. My hands were shaking as I began to type. Funny how some people can reinvent themselves when others carry their secrets. Maybe it's time for some truth. Family secrets. I hit post before I could change my mind. Within minutes, the questions started rolling in. Old friends from high school, neighbors, even Dad's golf buddies. Everyone wanted to know what I meant. Randy called 3 times. I ignored him. Mom sent a series of increasingly panicked texts. I ignored those too. Natasha pounded on my door until Dad made her stop. Around midnight, Kayla texted again. Whatever happened 6 years ago, is revenge worth destroying your family over? I stared at her message for a long time. Was it worth it? They'd already shown they were willing to publicly shame me for wanting independence. Why shouldn't I return the favor? My phone lit up with another notification. Randy had posted a response to my cryptic message. Some secrets protect more than just one person. Please remember that, sis. Family first, I scoffed. Now he wanted to talk about family first? Opening my laptop again, I started typing the story I'd kept buried for 6 years. It was time everyone knew the truth about perfect, reformed Randy. The cursor blinked accusingly as I stared at the empty text box. 6 years of silence pressed against my chest, but the memory of that night remained crystal clear. My phone rang. Kayla again. This time I answered. Before you do anything crazy, she said, I'm coming over. It's midnight. Exactly. You're about to nuke your family at midnight. You need intervention. 20 minutes later, we sat on my bedroom floor, sharing a pint of ice cream like we used to in college. The house had gone quiet, but I could hear Randy pacing in his room next door. Tell me what happened 6 years ago, Kayla said, passing me the spoon. I took a deep breath. Remember that break-in at the community center? The one that made the local news? When someone stole all that equipment and crashed the van? Yeah, that was huge. It wasn't some random burglar. It was Randy. Kayla's spoon clattered to the floor. What? He was high that night. Decided it would be fun to borrow their van for a joyride. Ended up crashing it into a ditch. But you... Her eyes widened. Oh my God, you took the blame. I nodded. I found him stumbling home, covered in cuts and bruises. He was crying, saying he couldn't go to jail, couldn't ruin his future. I laughed bitterly. He had a scholarship interview the next week. So you just confessed to a crime you didn't commit? Mom and Dad convinced me, said it would look better if I did it. First offense, good student, active in community service. They promised Randy would get help, would turn his life around. A soft knock interrupted us. Laura? It was Randy. Please, can we talk? I looked at Kayla, who nodded. Let him in. Randy entered, looking as haunted as he had that night 6 years ago. I saw you had company, he said, nodding at Kayla. I can come back. She knows, I said. I just told her. He sank into my desk chair. Are you going to tell everyone else too? Give me one reason why I shouldn't. Because I'm not that person anymore. You know that. The rehab program, the volunteer work, my job helping at-risk youth. It's all real. Yeah, built on a lie. Built on my sacrifice. A sacrifice I think about every single day. His voice cracked. Why do you think I started working with troubled kids? Why do you think I spend every weekend at that same community center trying to make up for what I did? Kayla spoke up. Wait, you volunteer at the place you robbed? Every Saturday for the past 5 years. I answered for him. The perfect redemption story. Everyone loves Randy, the reformed bad boy who found his calling helping kids. While you got labeled the problem child, Kayla said quietly, Randy stood up suddenly. You think I don't know that? You think I don't see how Mom and Dad still treat you differently? Why do you think I never moved out? I stayed to try to protect you, to take care of things so you wouldn't have to. I snorted. Really? Is that why I still do your laundry? I ask Mom to ask you because it's the only way she'll leave you alone for an hour. Every time I try to do things myself, she sends you to help anyway. That made me pause. It was true. Mom never let me rest when Randy tried to handle things himself. Look, he continued, what I did was unforgivable. Not just the crime, but letting you take the fall. I was a coward. But these past 6 years, I've tried to become someone worthy of your sacrifice. By letting them shame me on social media, I'll make them take it all down. I'll tell them I'm moving out too, that they need to learn to stand on their own feet. Just, please don't destroy everything we've both worked for. Kayla touched my arm. He has a point. You took the blame so he could help people. If this comes out now, all those kids he works with... My laptop dinged. Another notification. Mom had posted again. Sometimes the hardest thing is watching your children make mistakes. Praying for guidance. Randy reached for my laptop. May I? I nodded. He typed quickly, then turned the screen so I could see his response. The biggest mistake is taking family for granted. Laura deserves better, taking down my previous comments and apologizing to my sister. Sorry, Laura. Within minutes, his phone started blowing up with messages from our parents. He ignored them all. I can't promise this makes everything okay, I said. I know. He headed for the door, then turned back. But I can promise I won't let them treat you like this anymore. You deserve your own life, Laura. You've earned it more than anyone. After he left, Kayla picked up her spoon again. So, what are you going to do? I closed my laptop, the half-written exposé still unsaved. I'm going to bed. And tomorrow, I'm going apartment hunting. And the secret? I stared at the wall separating my room from Randy's, hearing him argue with our parents down the hall. Some secrets protect more than just one person, I quoted his post. Maybe it's time to protect myself instead. The real estate agent's heels clicked against the hardwood floors of what could be my new apartment. As you can see, the natural light is amazing, she said, gesturing to the floor-to-ceiling windows. I was already imagining my furniture in here when my phone buzzed. Natasha had tagged me in another post. Some family secrets should stay buried. Just saying. Family drama. Is everything okay? The agent asked, noticing my expression. Fine. I forced a smile. The apartment is perfect. When can I sign? An hour later, I sat in my car, staring at the signed lease agreement. Freedom was officially 30 days away. My phone had been buzzing nonstop, mostly messages from Mom about how I was breaking her heart, but one caught my eye. A comment from Tommy, Randy's old best friend from high school. Interesting post about family secrets, Laura. Remember that night 6 years ago? Maybe we should talk. My hands started shaking. Tommy had been there that night. He'd been in the van with Randy. Before I could respond, another message popped up. This one from Kayla. Emergency wine needed. Coming over after work. I drove home to find the house unusually quiet. A note on the fridge read, Emergency board meeting at the country club. Leftovers in the fridge. Mom. Randy was sitting at the kitchen table staring at his phone. Tommy's been messaging me, he said without looking up. Me too. He's threatening to tell people what really happened. I grabbed a wine glass from the cabinet. Maybe we should let him. Laura, I'm tired, Randy. Tired of carrying this. Tired of being the family disappointment because I took the fall for you. I know. He finally looked up. But Tommy doesn't know the whole story. He doesn't know about the kids in the van. The glass nearly slipped from my hand. We never talked about that part, how the van had been prepped for a field trip the next day, how close Randy had come to destroying not just his life, but the lives of innocent children. The doorbell rang. Kayla holding 2 bottles of wine. She read the tension in the room immediately. What did I miss? Tommy's surfaced, I said, grabbing another glass. The guy who was with Randy that night? Randy stood up. I should go. I have a meeting with my kids' group tomorrow anyway. Running away again? The words slipped out before I could stop them. He turned, face flushed. No, I'm going to call Tommy, try to reason with him. After he left, Kayla and I settled on the couch with our wine. Your sister's post about buried secrets was interesting timing, she said. Natasha doesn't know anything. She's just trying to stir drama. My phone buzzed again. Tommy. Remember how scared those kids looked the next day at the community center? Bet their parents would love to know how close their children came to disaster. He's bluffing, Kayla said, reading over my shoulder. He was just as guilty. But he has nothing to lose. His life is already a mess. The front door opened, Natasha home early from her study group. She froze when she saw us. Oh, you're here. I live here for now. She hovered uncertainly. About my post. Save it. No, listen. I heard Randy talking to Tommy on the phone. Something about a van and kids. What really happened 6 years ago, Laura? I took a long sip of wine. Ask your brother. I'm asking you. She sat down across from us. Everyone thinks you crashed that van, but it was Randy, wasn't it? That's the secret? Before I could respond, my phone lit up with a new notification. Tommy had posted some interesting stories about that community center break-in from 6 years ago. Wonder if those kids' parents know how close their children came to riding in a van with cut brake lines? What is he talking about? Natasha grabbed her own phone. What kids? My hands were shaking so hard I could barely type a response. Tommy, call me. Now. Cut brake lines? Kayla whispered. You never mentioned that. Because it wasn't true, I said. The van crashed because Randy was high. Tommy's making things up. My phone rang. Randy. Are you seeing this? His voice was panicked. He's saying I cut the brake lines on purpose. Laura, you have to help me. No one will believe me if I deny it. I looked at Natasha, who was scrolling through the growing comments on Tommy's post. At Kayla, who seemed unsure whether to believe Tommy's version or mine. Laura? Randy's voice cracked. Please, everything I've built, all those kids I help now, it'll all be destroyed. The irony wasn't lost on me. Once again, Randy was begging for my help, asking me to protect him from his past. But this time, the stakes were even higher. Tommy posted again. Lots of questions coming in. Maybe it's time for the full story. One should truth coming. I had a choice to make. Let Tommy destroy Randy with lies, or finally tell the truth myself. Everyone in the living room, now. I hung up on Randy and texted Mom and Dad the same message. This had to end tonight. Within 15 minutes, they all filed in. Mom and Dad still in their country club attire, Randy looking pale, Natasha clutching her phone. Kayla started to leave, but I grabbed her arm. Stay. I need a witness who isn't family. Laura? Mom started. What is this about? We were in the middle of... Tommy's threatening to tell everyone Randy cut the brake lines on that van, I interrupted. He's lying, but he's also ready to tell everyone who really crashed it. Dad stood up so fast his golf cap fell off. We agreed never to discuss this. No, you ordered me never to discuss it. But now Tommy's spinning his own version, and it's worse than the truth. Randy's phone kept buzzing. He showed me the screen. Dozens of messages from kids he counseled, asking if the rumors were true. "Tell them, Randy," I said. "Tell them what really happened that night." He looked at our parents, then back at me. I was high. Tommy and I took the van for a joyride. I crashed it because I was too wasted to drive straight. And, I pressed. And Laura took the blame because I had a scholarship interview. Because I promised to get clean. His voice cracked. Because everyone thought she was the troublemaker anyway. Mom sank into her chair. We did what was best for the family. "Best for Randy," I corrected, while I got labeled the black sheep, the problem child, the one who needed supervision and couldn't be trusted to live alone. "But you were strong enough to handle it," Dad said. "Randy wasn't." "That's not an excuse," Natasha suddenly burst out. "Do you know how messed up that is? You sacrificed one child to save another." Mom turned on her. "You don't understand. Randy had potential." "And Laura didn't?" Kayla cut in. "She just made senior manager at 29. What could she have achieved without a criminal record hanging over her?" My phone buzzed again. Tommy, ready to tell everyone the truth about their precious youth counselor? I showed the message to Randy. "Your call. We either tell the real story or we let Tommy tell his version." Randy stood up, hands shaking as he opened his social media app. "I'll do it." "Son, think about this," Dad warned. "I have." Randy started typing. 6 years ago, I made a terrible mistake. I was high, I stole a van, I crashed it. My sister Laura took the blame to protect me. She carried that burden while I got clean and built a new life. But I can't let her carry it anymore." "Randy, stop." Mom tried to grab his phone. "No, Mom. Laura's right. The truth needs to come out." He hit post. The response was immediate. Notifications flooded in. Some expressing shock, others support, many anger. "The community center board will see this," Dad said. "Your job is working with at-risk youth," Randy finished, "teaching them that actions have consequences, that the truth matters. What kind of counselor would I be if I kept hiding behind my sister's sacrifice?" My phone lit up with a call from Tommy. I answered on speaker. "Saw Randy's post," he said. "Brave move, but he left out the part about—" "There is no other part," I cut in. "The brake lines weren't cut. You know that. You were there." Silence on the line. Then, fine. But people still deserve to know what really happened. They do now. And Tommy? If you try to spread lies about brake lines or endangered kids, I have the original police report. Want to explain to everyone why you fled the scene and left Randy to crash alone? He hung up. "Laura," Mom said softly, "we really did think we were doing what was best." "I know, but your best wasn't good enough." I pulled out my lease agreement. "I'm moving out next month, and this time, no one's going to stop me." "I'm moving out too," Randy said. "It's time we all grew up." Natasha stood up. "If everyone's making announcements, I'm transferring to the state university. It's cheaper and I can pay for it myself. No more depending on Mom and Dad's money or Laura's help." Mom started to cry. Dad just looked lost. "Your father and we don't know how to do this without you both here." "Then it's time you learned," I said, but gently this time. "We can't be your crutches forever." As everyone filed out, Kayla squeezed my hand. "You okay?" I looked at my phone, at Randy's post with its hundreds of responses, at the truth finally set free. Yeah, for the first time in 6 years, I really am. Randy lingered in the doorway. "Thank you. Not just for tonight, but for everything." "Don't thank me," I said. "Just live a life worth the sacrifice." He nodded, understanding at last the weight of both our burdens. His to become someone better, mine to finally let go. The community center parking lot felt smaller than I remembered. Randy's car was already there, parked next to the spot where the van had crashed 6 years ago. He stood by the entrance, surrounded by a small group of teenagers, his counseling group. "Laura?" one of the kids called out. "Are you the sister from the post?" "Marcus," Randy warned, but I waved him off. "Yes, that's me." The kids exchanged looks. A girl with bright blue hair stepped forward. "That was brave what you did, taking the blame to protect your brother." "No," I said firmly. "It wasn't brave. It was enabling. Sometimes protecting people means letting them face consequences." Randy cleared his throat. That's actually why I asked Laura to come today. We're talking about accountability. I followed them inside, where more teens sat in a circle of chairs. The room smelled of coffee and teenage anxiety. On the wall hung photos of Randy with various groups, camping trips, basketball games, award ceremonies. Most of you have seen my post, Randy started, about what really happened that night. A boy in the back raised his hand. Is it true you were high? Yes. I was addicted to several substances back then. I made terrible choices. But you got better, Blue Hair said. You help us now. I got better because people held me accountable, eventually. He looked at me. Laura, would you mind sharing your perspective? Before I could answer, the door opened. A man in his 60s entered, Mr. Peterson, the center's director. The same man who'd accepted my false confession 6 years ago. I hope I'm not interrupting, he said, but his expression was stern. Randy, could I speak with you and your sister privately? The teens whispered among themselves as we followed Mr. Peterson to his office. Photos of community events lined the walls, including one of me doing community service here after taking the blame for Randy. I saw your post, he said, closing the door. I always suspected there was more to that story. Randy straightened his shoulders. Sir, I understand if you need to terminate my position. Terminate you? Mr. Peterson laughed. Randy, do you know why I hired you 3 years ago? We both shook our heads. Because I saw how you kept coming back here, volunteering, working with the kids. I knew something was driving you. Now I know what. He turned to me. And you, Laura. You carried that burden all these years. Not very well, I admitted. I almost exposed him out of spite last week, but you didn't. Instead, you let him tell the truth himself. He pulled out a folder. The center's board met this morning. They want to expand our youth counseling program. Randy, they'd like you to head it up. Randy blinked. Even after, especially after, your story, both your stories, that's exactly what these kids need to hear. About mistakes, consequences, redemption, and the price of enabling versus true support. A knock at the door interrupted us. Blue Hair poked her head in. Sorry, but there's someone here asking for Laura. In the hallway stood Tommy, looking older and more worn than I remembered. Hey, he said awkwardly. Can we talk? Randy started to follow us outside, but I shook my head. This conversation was 6 years overdue. Tommy waited until we were alone in the parking lot. I was jealous, he said finally, of Randy, getting clean, helping kids, becoming someone better. While I just stayed stuck, he nodded. When I saw your post about family secrets, I thought, I don't know, that exposing him would make me feel better somehow. By making up lies about brake lines? I'm sorry, I was angry. Not just at Randy, but at myself. I was in that van too, but I ran away. Left him to crash alone. Left you to take the blame. A group of kids walked past us, heading into the center. One waved at me, Marcus from Randy's group. It's not too late, I said, to become someone better. Tommy scoffed. Easy for you to say. You're the hero of this story. No, I'm not. I enabled bad behavior by covering it up. Real heroes face the truth no matter how hard it is. I pulled out my phone, showed him the center's website. They're always looking for volunteers. You think they'd let someone like me? They let Randy do it. Talk to Mr. Peterson. Tell him the whole truth. Start there. As Tommy walked toward the entrance, Randy came out. Everything okay? Getting there. I looked at the spot where the van had crashed. You know what's weird? I've been so angry about taking the blame, I never let myself feel proud of who you became because of it. Laura. No, let me finish. What you did was wrong. What I did was wrong too, in a different way. But what you're doing now? That's right, and maybe that's what matters most. He hugged me, something we hadn't done in years. Over his shoulder, I could see Tommy talking to Mr. Peterson through the window, gesturing animatedly. Ready to head home? Randy asked. I smiled. No, ready to start packing for my new apartment. For the first time, saying those words felt like a beginning rather than an escape. Moving boxes surrounded me like cardboard sentinels as I sorted through years of accumulated memories. Kayla sat cross-legged on my bed, helping me decide what to keep and what to donate. Oh my God, she held up a photo. Your goth phase. Burn it, I laughed, but stopped when I saw the date on the back, 2 months after the van incident. My dark makeup and clothes hadn't been a phase, they'd been armor. A knock at the door made us both look up. Mom stood there, holding a stack of fresh towels. "I thought you might want these for your new place." "Thanks," I said, surprised. It was the first time she'd acknowledged my move without crying or guilt-tripping. She lingered, looking at the photo in Kayla's hand. "I remember that year. I thought you were just rebelling. I never realized that I was drowning." She sat on the edge of my bed. "I've been doing a lot of thinking since Randy's post went viral, about the choices we made, the pressure we put on you." "Mom, we don't have to." "Yes, we do." She picked up another photo, me at my college graduation, forcing a smile while Randy was in rehab. "We failed you, not just by asking you to take the blame, but by taking you for granted ever since, making you the responsible one, the reliable one." Kayla quietly slipped out, giving us privacy. "Did you know," Mom continued, "that your father and I had our first real fight about dishes yesterday? In 30 years of marriage, we'd never argued about chores because I always did them." She nodded, wiping away tears. "Randy's moving out next week. Did he tell you?" "Yeah, found a place near the community center." "And Natasha's serious about transferring schools. Everyone's leaving." "Not leaving, Mom. Growing up. There's a difference." A commotion downstairs interrupted us. Raised voices, something falling. We rushed down to find Dad and Randy in the kitchen, surrounded by broken dishes. "I told you I'd handle the dishes," Dad was saying. "And I told you you're loading the dishwasher wrong," Randy shot back. They both turned when they saw us. "Laura?" they said simultaneously, then stopped, embarrassed. "Don't look at me," I held up my hands. "Figure it out yourselves." "But you always," Dad started. "Not anymore." I turned to head back upstairs, then paused. "You know what? Watch this." I pulled out my phone and opened the camera. "Say cheese." "Laura, we're a mess," Mom protested. "Exactly." I took the picture. Dad with soap suds on his golf shirt, Randy holding a broken plate, Mom still teary-eyed, all of us looking slightly chaotic. I posted it immediately. Family isn't about perfection. It's about growth, even when it's messy. Real family. Within minutes, the likes and comments started flowing, but these were different from the angry, judgmental responses to our earlier drama. These were real, honest, understanding. "Looks like my house when I moved out. Parents learning to adult is the best karma. This is what healing looks like." Natasha came home to find us all still in the kitchen, now laughing as Dad and Randy competed to see who could load the dishwasher faster. "What's happening?" she asked. "Growth," Mom answered, surprising us all. Messy, uncomfortable growth. My phone buzzed with a message from Tommy. "Started volunteering at the center today. Mr. Peterson says I have potential. Thanks for the push." I showed it to Randy, who smiled. "He helped with my teen group. Kids really responded to him." "Because he's real," I said. "No pretense, no perfect facade." Dad straightened up from the dishwasher. "Speaking of real, Laura, your mother and I have been talking. We'd like to help with your moving expenses." I started to protest, but he held up a hand. "Not to control you or keep you dependent, but because we should have supported your independence years ago." "And," Mom added, "we'd like to start family therapy, all of us, to learn how to be better, for each other and ourselves." I looked around the kitchen, at the broken dishes, the sudsy floor, the imperfect family trying to do better. For the first time, I saw us clearly, not as victims and villains, but as flawed people learning to change. "Therapy sounds good," I said, "but I'm still moving out next week." "We know." Mom smiled through fresh tears. "And we're proud of you." Randy picked up another plate, deliberately dropped it. "Oops, guess we need more practice at this adulting thing." "Really?" Dad exclaimed. "What? Laura's not here to clean it up anymore. We better learn." I snapped another picture of their bickering, this one just for me. A reminder that sometimes the biggest messes lead to the best transformations. Upstairs, my boxes waited to be filled, but now they felt less like an escape route and more like a bridge to independence, to growth, to a new kind of family dynamic, one where we could all be perfectly imperfect together. The last box landed with a thud in my new living room. Sunlight streamed through the floor-to-ceiling windows, casting long shadows across the hardwood floors. That's the last one, Randy said, wiping sweat from his forehead. Unless you're hiding more shoes somewhere. Hey, I helped you move yesterday. No complaining. Kayla emerged from the kitchen, already opening a bottle of champagne. Less talking, more celebrating. The doorbell rang. Mom and Dad, carrying a houseplant and looking uncomfortable but determined. Behind them, Natasha held a wrapped package. We brought you something, Mom said, thrusting the plant forward. It's a peace lily. The florist said they're good for new beginnings. And this, Natasha handed me her gift. Open it now. Inside was a framed photo. The one from the kitchen last week with all of us surrounded by broken dishes and soap suds. She'd added a caption, perfectly imperfect. For your new wall, she said, so you remember you're not actually escaping us. Speaking of not escaping, Dad cleared his throat. We had our first therapy session this morning. And? I tried to keep the skepticism out of my voice. And your father cried, Mom said, earning a glare from Dad. In a good way. We talked about patterns, about enabling, about how we've treated you. The doorbell rang again. This time it was Tommy looking nervous, but clean-cut in a button-down shirt. Sorry I'm late. Had my first official counseling session with the kids today. Randy beamed. How'd it go? Amazing. Terrifying. They asked about the van incident. I told them everything. My part in it, running away, trying to cause trouble last week. They actually respected the honesty. That's what real accountability looks like, I said, remembering our conversation in the parking lot. Kayla started passing around champagne glasses. To new beginnings? Wait, Mom said. She pulled out her phone. I want to post something first. We all froze. The last time my mother posted about family matters, it had sparked a war. She showed us the screen, learning that perfect families don't exist, but perfectly imperfect ones do. Proud of all my children today. Family growth, new chapter. Mom, I started. I know, no more social media drama, but I wanted people to see the whole story, the real ending. It's not an ending, Randy said. It's just different, better. Dad picked up a box labeled kitchen. Should we help you unpack? Actually, I smiled, I think I want to do it myself. Figure out where everything goes, make it mine. Good, Mom said firmly, though her eyes were wet. That's good. We stood there awkwardly until Kayla raised her glass. To Laura's new place. And to Randy's promotion, I added. And to Tommy's fresh start, Randy chimed in. And to parents learning to load dishwashers, Natasha smirked. After they left, I sat on my new couch, surrounded by boxes and possibility. My phone buzzed with a message from Blue Hair, the girl from Randy's group. Thanks for showing us that telling the truth isn't the end of the world. I looked at the kitchen photo on my wall, at the peace lily by the window, at the keys to my very own apartment. Opening my phone, I made one final post. 6 years ago, I made a choice to protect someone else's truth. Today, I'm choosing to live my own. Not running away, not cutting ties, just growing. Sometimes the hardest part of loving your family is learning to love yourself first. My truth. New chapter. The responses came quickly. This whole story has helped me talk to my own family. From drama to growth. We love to see it. Your brother's program helped my kid. Sometimes bad choices lead to beautiful things. A knock at my door. Kayla had forgotten her jacket. She looked around at my boxes. Need help unpacking? No, I said, surprising myself. I think I want to take my time, do it my way. Look at you setting boundaries. She hugged me. I'm proud of you, you know that? After she left, I opened the box marked Memories. Inside was the old photo of my goth phase, the one Mom had seen earlier. I placed it next to the kitchen disaster photo. My phone buzzed one last time. A group text from Mom. Family dinner this Sunday? We promised to cook ourselves. It might be terrible, but it'll be our terrible. I smiled and replied, wouldn't miss it, but I'm not doing the dishes. Randy, Dad's got dishes covered. He's been watching YouTube tutorials. Natasha, this should be good. Dad, I resent these implications. Mom, no you don't, dear. See you Sunday, Laura? Looking around my new apartment, at the space that was entirely mine, I felt something I hadn't in years. Peace. See you Sunday, I typed. I'll bring dessert. Because sometimes moving forward means knowing exactly when to look back.